And you see by the dawn's early light, for so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Oh, the ramparts we walked were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets
Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show, presented by the West Law Firm and Resto Pros of the Midwest, part of the Chief Sports Network, and proud partners of On 3, Go Gamecocks.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
Consecutive home runs for Carolina.
It is good. It's gone.
He's in. Touchdown.
Williams with the throw of the catch. He's going to score. It's a walk-off. Touchdown, South Carolina.
Greetings and good. Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
Papa Top again. Freak. Out, yo.
Oh, don't you dare look back, just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back, she said shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said ooh, ooh, shut up and dance. Don't you dare look back, just keep your eyes on me. I said you're holding back, she said shut up and dance with me. This woman is my destiny. She said, ooh, ooh, shut up and dance with me.
Okay, let's try this again. How's that sound, Matt Anderson?
Hey, man, I'm just happy we got the Finally Friday video. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, here we are. Sometimes, well, we weren't on the air for a couple of weeks, so sometimes old lady technology, she's still getting out of bed around 10 a.m. But anyways, greetings and good morning. Welcome aboard. Welcome home. Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show presented by Resto Pros and our friends at the West Law Firm. Visit westlawfirmsc.com. They have been helping families in this state for over 8 decades, and I know some of those families, so I know the impact that Mason and his entire team has made. And if you need anything at all, even if it's just a simple question, you can call them. Go to westlawfirmsc.com. And our friends at Resto Pros, who are there when you need them. Keep an eye on the weather, especially if you are kind of shifted towards the low country this weekend starting this afternoon. They've already got flash flood warnings or watches up, expected to be warnings later on this afternoon, according to my man, like the nicest human on earth, Rob Fowler at Channel 2 in Charleston. So keep an eye on that. God forbid something happen, but if it does to your home, that's who you'll call. Resto Pros, Resto Pros Midlands SC.com. That is Matt Anderson back from a break as well, at least here on this program. And I'm going to pick his brain today. It's the Matt Show because Matt has been really, really good on the bigspur.com at diving deep into the numbers pertaining to the Gamecocks and the rest of the SEC. We've had a lot of content, as a matter of fact, lately on this football team and what do they need to do now that changes have been made to put points on the board, and how can that equal wins? So we'll talk to Matt about a lot of that. We do have JC and Phil coming up here in just a little while as well. But first, it is Friday. It is 10:04, and it's time for a Gamecock Report presented by Gamecock Traditions.
What's going on in Gamecock Country? It's the Gamecock Report presented by Gamecock Traditions on the morning show. Visit GamecockTraditions.com or in Lexington and get your gear and apparel today.
All right. Okay, so just a reminder, if you're going to be in the Midlands tomorrow, you can go meet the very fast Nick Harbor. He will be at Gamecock Traditions from 11 a.m. until 12:30. So you got 90 minutes to get in there and get an autograph. And if you have to pay $10, but the $10 goes towards the item that you want him to autograph. So if you're going to buy something like a helmet or a cup or a shirt or whatever you're going to get, you can when you pay the $10 ticket, that money applies towards the product, and then you walk over to the very tall, very quick moving Nick Harbor, and you introduce yourself, take a picture, get an autograph. How about that? Pretty cool, huh? Good way to get the football season rolling by maybe meeting a future first round draft pick. You going that far, Anderson? Is he a first round draft pick?
He has all the measurables. I mean, everything the NFL salivates over. We'll see. We'll see. I think he has an opportunity. I mean, he's going to put up ridiculous numbers. Like, that's just it. Like, somebody is going to fall in love. And as Mike Morgan always says, it only takes one team in the first round to fall in love with you and think they can pull it out of you.
That's true. I think that's why he does end up a first round draft pick.
First rounder, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that he's going to certainly be good enough to be a second or third rounder. But, once he gets the combine, whatever he chooses to do, whether it's the combine or whether it's the workout in Columbia, the in-house workout, maybe he does both, who knows. Somebody there is going to be like, yeah, I'll take him. There's
one
no
other
doubt.
thing I'll add, JB, is he's going to interview off the charts. I mean, teams are going to fall in love with the human being that he is as well. When you marry all those things together you just mentioned,
Good kid.
Just takes one.
Yeah, very well said. All right, South Carolina's officially revealed the uniforms. They teased the black ones. We do need to get some confirmation. I think I know the guy to get the confirmation from as to whether they are planning to kind of color code this. Look, I wrote a column on our 100 Thoughts in 100 Days. I think it was like the 198, 96, 94, 92. Maybe the fifth one I wrote, fourth or fifth. And I did relink it last night on a thread that Chris Clark had started, saying that I thought Carolina needed to have a standard code because I think that the ballpark could get involved in that. I mean, there's 80,000 people in there, and this is just my opinion, but I think that the day it needs to be all garnet with white caps, and at night it should be all black with white caps, and occasionally you throw on the black helmet. And then on the road, I'm a huge fan of the Stormtrooper look and occasionally a garnet helmet. Those are just my thoughts, but I thought it would be, you know what I mean, Anderson? I thought, okay,
Yeah.
well, look, you go to it's an afternoon game. We know they're wearing garnet. We're going to wear garnet. Or, the university could color code it. All even sections, you're in this white. All odd sections, wear garnet. Maybe put shirts on the bleachers or something to get people going. Or when you walk in the ballpark, hey, what section are you in? We're in 29. Okay, well, would you like to buy a garnet shirt because you're in black today? Just do I don't know. I think that stuff's neat, and I think Carolina could take it an extra step with Nike's help. But the uniforms are out, and honestly, they don't look any different from before, except for there's a check mark on them.
Yeah, and that Nike check mark matters. When you're on the road, you're kind of at the mercy of what the home team wears, as far as your color choices. But I do like what you said. I mean, garnet on game day in the afternoon, blackout at night. Let's go. Easy to remember.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's cool. All right. Carolina football has added Lafayette Stewart Jr. as the director of recruiting for defense. He spent the last couple of years in Raleigh at NC State and was a defensive assistant for the Charlotte 49ers and the San Francisco 49ers prior to that. How about that? Lafayette Stewart Jr. is a graduate of North Augusta High School. So he is a Palmetto State native. Welcome back. I think he also was the head coach at Fox Creek High School one time.
I believe I read that this morning as well. Yeah.
Okay.
And he has
All
a
right.
Cardinal Newman connection as well from Columbia.
Okay. All right. Kevin Miller at Gamecock Central brought something interesting to our attention yesterday. Christian Walker is 2 home runs shy and 3 from breaking Justin Smoke's 196 home run mark in the big leagues. That's the most ever hit by a former Gamecock. I don't know if Justin is aware of that. That gives me great pride to make him aware of it this weekend, just so I can hear him say something negative about something.
Yeah, well,
He doesn't take these things well. So
the best never do.
no. I will see Smokey on Sunday. We will be, this is not about me, but I will see him Sunday. And the reason why is because we will be in attendance over at the River Dogs game, where former South Carolina right-hander Mike Cisco will officially be inducted into the Charleston Baseball Hall of Fame. And it's been way too long for him to get in there. He is one of the best arms to ever pitch in this entire state. At the high school level, and then obviously playing at South Carolina. We read an article about this a couple of weeks ago on the Big Spur. Congratulations, former All-SEC selection, Philadelphia Phillies draft pick, and Mount Pleasant and Wando native Mike Cisco on your induction into the Charleston Baseball Hall of Fame on Sunday. That's it. That's the Gamecock Report presented by Gamecock Traditions, GamecockTraditions.com. The Nike Superstore, Matt Anderson, who they've got over 100 items, including, how about this? Hat tip to those cats, because they got a ton of youth stuff in there as well. And my daughter informed me this morning, she's like, I would like a new South Carolina shirt, Dad. I keep wearing the same ones. And I said, damn right, kid. So we'll have them send some stuff our way with the check mark on it that fits a 7-year-old. Wonderful. And a lot of places don't have all the used stuff yet. They do. So if you need something for the kids, GamecockTraditions.com. Anyways, what's going on in your what does Al Roker say? What's going on in your neck of the woods?
Pumping out articles. I mean, this is the fun time of the year for me when it's the off season, because you have all the data. You can look at everything. You can kind of make predictions, projections, and I've been knee deep in that. Obviously, SEC Media Days, they are what they are. I love them. I know some people think some of the questions that get asked are stupid, and there are some, but there's always a storyline that's come out. So, I'm very interested to see what Sankey does with the SEC going forward, because he did, kind of tease, maybe we break away, maybe we do our own thing. You had Eli up there in Missouri complaining about kind of getting hoodwinked for playing 9 conference games. So the drama always comes out of it. And then, I love Stein, Kentucky, saying Kentucky's going to be great because of me. And I think those kinds of storylines, you got to be that way as a coach. So you got to have that mentality. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the heck out of SEC Media Days.
I was a huge fan of that comment from Will Stein. I loved it. I think that he presented it the right way. I understand what he was saying. I think that if you are a social media headline grabber, that gave you everything that you needed to make him look like a total idiot. But hopefully that didn't happen, because the way that he presented it made all the sense in the world. I like that. I like that. And, look, Kentucky hasn't been able to score for 10 years, at least consistently. They've had some runs in there where offensively they've had some really good players and been okay. But, he's had 3 top 5 offenses at Oregon, man. I mean, like, at minimum, I think that, I think that Kentucky and South Carolina are actually in very similar situations offensively. And we're going to talk to you a little bit more about your offensive numbers and stuff like that. We're going to hit a break here in just a second. But Matt, I don't know that anybody is looking at the Gamecocks or up in the Bluegrass State looking at the Wildcats and saying, well, this team needs to be able to, just be this high-flying, high-scoring offense. I think that the Gamecocks are capable of scoring points with who they have playing quarterback and what surrounds them. I think that the skill talent at South Carolina right now is very undervalued nationally. But if you go back to last year in Columbia, right, and really the same thing with Kentucky over the last couple of years, if you're just marginally better offensively, there's a lot more wins in the win column. So I mean, you don't have to present, this Ole Miss offense or what we've seen before from LSU or what we've seen out of Florida. Not as much recently, but certainly in the past, or what Josh Heupel is doing up at Tennessee. Like, you don't have to expect a 40-point offense. Hell, at South Carolina, keep in mind, they scored 15 points per game last year under Mike Shula. 15 points per game offensively. Offensive points. If that was 20, they had a couple more to, they're in bowl season. So You start getting into the mid-20s, you're knocking on the door of 30 if you can get there. Same thing up in Kentucky, and I understand what Will Stein is saying. You feel like if your defense is where it should be, you're going to beat teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better, JB. I mean, the Gamecocks have had to play almost perfect defense and, the most pressure-packed moments of games just to be in it last year. Hopefully that's going to change this year.
It is 10:16. It is Friday, July the 24th. We are knocking on the door of August, which means Gamecock football. They are 43 days until kicking off against Kent State at Williams-Brice Stadium. We'll step aside for a timeout. Hour one is powered by our friends over at Electric Bikes of Charleston, electricbikescharleston.com. We'll be right back.
Join thebigspur.com and Gamecock Central today for the best Gamecock coverage in South Carolina. Proud partners of On3.
Whether it's fireside or poolside, if it's time to watch the Gamecocks, Palm Casual will make your outdoor space the best it can be. Visit palmcasual.com and come see us at one of our South Carolina locations. Go Gamecocks!
Andy, why are you burning all that money?
Because if you're buying a Honda or Toyota, that's exactly what you're doing. Look at the new Kia K4. It's $2,000 less than the Civic, and Honda only has a 5-year warranty. JT's Kia has a 1,000,000-mile warranty.
Don't forget JT's Advantage package. Oil changes, roadside assistance, and so much more. Why burn money?
840 North Anderson Road, where we're serious about saving you money.
JT's Kia Rock Hill.
Kia summer sticker sales event.
Shopping at Gamecock Traditions is easy. Just pick up your phone. Type in GamecockTraditions.com. Select your items and purchase. They will ship it to your doorstep. GamecockTraditions.com.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
Sell your quality sports and fitness equipment to Play It Again Sports and get paid. Recycling your in-demand sports gear keeps it available in your community. Sell, buy, trade, and win with Play It Again Sports.
If you need a new fence, railings, even new columns, there is only one call in South Carolina. Gamecock great, Ryan Brewer. Over 15 years in the industry. Visit ryanbrewer.net today.
Watch JC and Morgan every week on the Chief Sports Network. Now back to ITG.
This is Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show. Part of the Chief Sports Network.
Someday, lady, you'll accompany me where the rivers meet the sound and sea. Feel it in my soul, it's meant to be. Oh, someday, lady, you'll accompany me. Someday, lady, you'll accompany me. You will accompany me.
All right. Yeah, man. Careful out there, expecting weather this afternoon. 10:20. Welcome back. The morning show brought to you by Palm Casual. PalmCasual.com. It's outdoor furniture that can survive rain. You get the crap from Amazon, and no disrespect to Amazon, we love Amazon here. and they love us. I can assure you of that.
Yes.
but I'm not ordering my furniture from them. Carrie and I made that mistake one time, like 5 years ago, and the next year we called Weasel or Aaron and went to Palm Casual and never looked back. All right. We should be, unless somebody has just totally shifted gears and not told anybody about it, but we should be getting coaches all SEC selections today out of the league. And if we get those while we're on the air, you are going to know about it. But Matt, you've got a column up right now on thebigspur.com. And if you're not a subscriber to the Big Spur and you'd like to read this and everything else, I don't know how much content we're putting out right now daily between all of us, but I'm catching up from a week ago. I can't get caught up. And
it's about 10 plus articles a day, JB.
Well,
I did the math.
So I made this mistake, a couple of months ago going, look, anything that's going up there, I already know about it, because we all text, whether it's Clark and Wes or Jack or JC, you, we all know who's doing what. We can see it, in the what I don't even know what we call that, the back room or whatever, where everything logs in. So we know what's going up, and if we know a column's coming out, we generally know what's going to be in it. We're all kind of in tune with everything before it gets out there. And then I made this huge mistake by actually just not reading some of it, because I was like, well, I know what's going to be in it. And then you read it and you're like, damn, I didn't know that, and so it's crazy and hard to keep up with, but you've done a great job with this, especially diving into a lot of the numbers. I don't know how much we're paying you. Maybe we should go back and look at that.
Maybe we can do that anytime, JB.
Okay. I'll get with I'll get with accounting. I was looking at we had Brett Ciancia on this week, and Pick Six Previews has the South Carolina defensive line ranked 7th in the SEC. Fair enough. One of the things that I have noticed, I believe my calculations were correct on this, is there are currently 5 former top 100 players in the nation that make up the defensive line on that roster. 5 guys who were top 100 players coming out of high school, including transfers. But you went much, much further kind of into the numbers. This is a group that I think there's an argument to be made that is the deepest on the team and maybe one of the most undervalued in the league. The question of Dylan Stewart's health is obviously key in all of this. But as you dove deeper, what did you discover?
I mean, just on the surface, if you're looking at just one statistic, which is quarterback pressures from a defensive lineman, and Dylan Stewart, over his 2-year career, knowing that he was been double and triple teamed and played injured last year, fought through stuff, he has more quarterback pressures in 2 years than some of these SEC teams that are on the schedule have combined by their projected starting lineup. So when we say Dylan Stewart is incredibly important, he really is. I mean, you're talking about 88 pressures. Basically 11% of the time he's applying pressure at the quarterback that makes the quarterback make a mistake, do something, throw the ball away, get sacked, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So you have one star in Dylan Stewart, and everybody knows his name, right? And what I also picked up on the last couple of years, you look at that defensive end opposite Dylan Stewart, they all have great numbers. Kyle Kennard was National Defensive Player of the Year. Brian Thomas Jr. racked up about 8.5 sacks last season. So you kind of wonder who that next guy is. And like you said it, JB, there's a plethora of options. And there's options, like Caleb Herring from Tennessee, one of those top 100 guys you were talking about. He had 17 pressures last year and only a little over, 300 snaps. So there's someone capable. Julian Walker is someone that we've heard everything about. There's no data about him except for he's a 5-star, and you can look at his highlights and hear things inside the program that tell you he's a future star as well. And then you go down to like an Anthony Addison, who we've talked about in the past. I mean, unprompted, I was hearing about Anthony Addison this time last year.
Yeah,
and he might just have to sit and wait in the wings a little bit. But defensive tackle is where they're strong as well. I think that people are really underselling Tomey and what he can do transferring over from Illinois. I mean, he's a run stuffer. He can hold his point of attack. All the data shows it. And the same thing with Gabriel Brown-Ladindi. Once he got an opportunity at South Carolina last year, he put up great numbers. So you look at that starting projected defensive line, if it's Dylan Stewart, Tomey, GBD, and then Herring or Walker, and you see optimism there, then you look at the depth behind it and the rotation. But you have a Troy Pikes and a Kelby Collins that could potentially start. So, you asked about defensive line being kind of undersold and how do you rate it, according to the rest of the SEC. My easy answer is if Dylan Stewart's healthy, they're a top 5 unit in the SEC because there's not many Dylan Stewarts out there. And, I also equate defensive line to wide receiver. How many 4-stars or, top 200 players, top 100 players are in that wide receiver room right now as well? So, you have those two position groups. I think they're going to be make or break for South Carolina this year, but we all know it starts with the defensive line. It starts with stopping the run and allowing the linebackers to play free and loose and react instead of overcompensate.
I'm so curious the relationship. I know it's a good relationship, but the coaching relationship as to how they do things up front between Deion Barnes and Travian Robertson. Travian Robertson comes from Brad Lawing. Brad Lawing would look at a kid and figure out whether he could help him or not before he ever asked him to come play football at South Carolina. If you to equate that a little bit to what's going on right now with South Carolina baseball, Matt Williams is one of those type of guys. As far as handling the pitching staff, you look at some of the guys that are being brought in as opposed to what was being brought in last year. You actually see a lot of similarities on the pitching staff from guys who just throw really hard, but their numbers kind of scare you a little bit. Mm-hmm. But Matt Williams sees something. He goes, I know how to coach that. So I can make that better, which means he gets better, which means he can help us. And then we find that role for him there. That was Brad Lawing to a T at South Carolina. I remember when Brad was in his heyday at South Carolina, and he went down to the the Beaufort area and recruited what's his name, the defensive end, very tall, played for the
Devin Taylor.
Devin Taylor. Sorry, Devin. I can't believe his name just escaped me. But I remember, there was Devin was certainly being recruited. And I know this story because I know somebody who's extremely close to Devin in high school who taught him. I mean, but was like involved in this process. And but there wasn't a lot of SEC stuff going on from the standpoint of we think he can be great and we think he can go to the NFL. Remember, he was very tall and very lean and very raw. And Brad Lawing looked at him, and basically what he told him was, if you're willing to put in the work, I'm going to get you into the NFL, and here's why. These are the things that you do well. These are the things that I coach, and that will get you there. Travian Robertson had adopted that, right? And this, remember, back then, you coached the whole line, Matt. You'd have, okay, this guy's a defensive ends coach, but Brad Lawing coached the defensive line, period, the end, whether you're an end or a tackle. And, Travian, while he certainly is, he's the defensive tackles coach / defensive line, if you will, if you want to play that a little bit loosely. He is a what are my strengths? What are your weaknesses? Can I improve those to make them your strengths type of coach? And if he doesn't feel like that is going to be in the bag, regardless of how many stars or what everybody's saying about that young man, that might not be a great fit for South Carolina football. So am I sitting here saying that everybody who's in that defensive tackle room is going to be an NFL guy just because Travian Robertson is their coach? Well, no, of course not. I mean, nobody's going to hit 1,000, but they identified our understanding of their process in recruiting the portal. And obviously signing high school kids, that's known. But in going to the portal was, yes, we're looking for talented kids, but we're looking for talented kids who match the things that we teach well, period. There is a difference, right? Yeah. And so I'm with you. I think Brownlow Dindy is a superstar. I think he is a draft pick. I think a lot of people believe that. If you go back to the end of last season, remember the best game of the year that Troy Pikes played was the last one. I mean, he was an animal against Clemson. You added Tomey Durjaye, who's played now in every power conference and You added Jordan Thomas. Do you remember what the word was on Jordan Thomas? You remember when he was in the portal? And
I mean, I just remember it was somebody that kind of needed to have someone shove a foot up their rear end and pull it out of him.
Yeah. Does he love football?
Yeah.
That was the question. Like, does he love football? And what we found out in the spring, I think you heard the same things that JC and I were hearing, was, well, if you don't love football playing for Travian Robertson, guess what? You're going to get exposed real quick. So you're either going to rise, or you're going to, or let's put it differently, you're either going to sink, or you're going to be one of the best swimmers in the pool. Like, that's it. You've got too much talent, so you either get there or you just won't play.
And that's where you're going, JB. I think with are they all going to play in the NFL? Well, we don't know, but at the same time, if there's someone that can bring it out of them, it's Travian. And then I'll also say, don't forget Travian's story. He started out as a defensive end out of Laurinburg, North Carolina, transitioned to defensive tackle, played in the NFL for years. And, what are we seeing now more and more, JB? Kids out of high school are getting bigger and stronger, starting as an edge, moving to defensive tackle, and, identifying those guys. But Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy had a lot of the same questions that you just brought up with Jordan Thomas. Does he love football? Like, he has all the natural ability, skill, size, everything. And look, turns out he did love football, and he's having fun now.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. And so you start to bring this in. Okay, how deep is this room? Because, okay, so Noah Clark's name has come up, obviously. He had a huge spring. I think we all look at it and believe we're going to see Noah Clark this year, but the best thing for South Carolina is that you don't see him that much, honestly. I mean, let's phrase that differently. I don't know I don't want to say it like that. The best, he might just be that good. Like, that is very, very possible. But I also feel like if Noah Clark is getting, a few snaps a game and earning more snaps, that's one thing versus he's in there a lot early in the season. That's just the way that I see it as it stands right now going into camp, because you got these guys with extensive collegiate football experience. We got guys from Alabama. You got a guy from Illinois and Tennessee. I mean, a lot, man. So, all right, let me ask you this: is this group the strength of the team?
Strength of the team or the defense?
Go back to 2024. What was the strength of the team?
Okay, defensive line, yeah. And Lenore Sellers being a superhuman the last 6 games of the regular season.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I don't know, man. I think that it's good. I think there's a number of them that you could say are strengths, but I think this is the most important position group on the team. And if you identify most important as best, I think it needs to be the best. I'm not quite sure if I'm there yet, but I mean, a lot of this is going to be Dylan Stewart. And, one of your questions for SEC Media Days, I read your article, what is the health of Dylan Stewart? Is he going to be ready to play week 1 or playing week 1, or ready to play week 3 or playing week 3? I can't say it's the best till I know about Dylan Stewart and his health. And what version of Dylan Stewart are we getting? And we know he's going to bust his tail and fight for everything he can and want to be in the game. But he is the X factor. If he's healthy, yeah, it could be. I'll call it the best unit on the team.
I mean, I think from the depth standpoint, wide receiver and defensive tackle that's easy to say. I mean, first of all, they play the most players other than the offensive line, but those two groups, there's no doubt they're the deepest on the team. I think that to take it a step further, this defensive line group with Dylan Stewart may be the most underrated, one of the most underrated units in the SEC. I think that South Carolina, they're getting some respect up there. I think that group, and certainly the linebackers, just like I can't wrap my head around how everybody that is covering this from a national standpoint doesn't see what we see with this group of linebackers. I mean, I know there's not a lot of experience behind the front three, but they play two. So those three guys who have been really good at South Carolina all return. All three of them would start in other places in the SEC. I'm not saying they would start at every single team in the league, but they absolutely would start at multiple programs in the SEC if they were not on a South Carolina roster, and two of them were recruited to play for Nick Saban. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's very undersold. So if that group is better than they're getting credit for outside of our circle, and if the defensive line overperforms, Matt, and you approach what you had in 2024, I don't know if you have all the magical moments or not, but how solid it was of a unit. The offense is a whole nother conversation, but good God, it makes it a lot easier on those guys, even if they are only marginally better, and we all think they'll be better than that, for South Carolina to have not a good year.
If they're just marginally better, JB, they can win every game on their schedule. And I don't say that lightly. If they're just marginally better, I'm talking about the linebacker core there, because I think the defensive line, I have no worries about the defensive line. Zilch, zero, none. I do have some worry about the linebacker group, because although they have played a lot of snaps and they have so much untapped potential, they do need to improve in some things like coverage and tackling, number one. But if you can really establish yourself in the defensive line and put pressure like we saw in 2024, right, JB, then it allows the linebackers to play great. I mean, there was a second round pick in there that was a linebacker in 2024 who is now a Pro Bowler, a Super Bowl champion. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think that there is an opportunity for those guys to be a lot better this year, but I hate to just like throw a blanket over it all, but I'm just not worried about the defense at all. I've heard too many good things. These guys are going to take a leap forward, especially the linebackers in Clayton White's scheme. Like, people forget, Justin O was playing gymnastics and soccer just 3 or 4 years ago and focusing on that. Like, when you have a kid with those athletic characteristics and traits recruited by Nick Saban, sometimes it takes him a year to get his feet wet and to figure things out and stop reacting, or stop thinking and start reacting. So I'm just not worried about the entire defense. Now I have individual worries, but like as a unit, I just trust Clayton White, Torian Gray, Travian, Deion Barnes, Clayton, all of them. Money, they're all good coaches, and they have good players.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly more times than not that defensive coordinators are much more defensive situations in this league and across college football. When you have a new defensive coordinator, there seems to be much more conversation. When you have a bad defense, there's a lot of conversation. It's kind of like the kicking game, or like an umpire. If you got an umpire that can't call strikes, everybody knows it. Everybody's yelling about it, right? If you got an umpire who's having a really good day, no one even knows he's there. Like, they almost forget that there's a guy back there calling balls and strikes. It just calculates into the ball game, and you move on. In baseball, Clayton White has now been at South Carolina for 6 years, and there are very few people that even mention him when it comes to things that are important with this football team. I know that Cole Kubelik did the other day. I got to give Cole Kubelik so much credit. He just does so much homework on covering teams in the SEC. He's been here for 6 years. Do you remember this? I asked Shane last year. I said, "Why did you keep him?" And that's a kind of a ballsy question to ask the head coach at South Carolina, because while 22, remember in 22, they got hot at the end of the season, right? And they end up winning 8 games. But they were giving up over 30 points per game, like every game, like the last 5 games of the season. They were giving up a lot of points. And then 23 had some rough moments defensively, as we know. And there was a lot of heat around him. And Shane was like, "No, that's my guy. I'm going to give him a chance to get this thing figured out." Well, then in 2024, it becomes one of the best defenses statistically speaking, ever in the history of the school. You can go look that up for yourself. Just pull up the record books on South Carolina's website. And last year, they were solid. They had some moments that they'd like to have back. Go back to that Alabama game. They could have had a couple of stops on defense, and if they would have gotten them, you could argue that would have helped them win that game as well. Sellers fumble and things like that happen late, Matt, are what really stand out. But there were drives prior to where the South Carolina defense failed them, and a lot of that was because they could not get pressure on the quarterback for Alabama, Ty Simpson. And so if that is improved once again this year, again, those are the moments that shifted things in 2024. And Clayton White just has a structure that they work within. They believe in it. It's worked. And I think I agree with you. I think that they're being very undersold. And I think that this unit, once again, could be one of the better ones in the league, which means you're one of the better ones in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. And look, there were some conversations about second half adjustments early in Clayton White's tenure at South Carolina. And then look, there's going to be busted plays in every single game. Now, you just hope those busted plays don't come back to haunt you, right? But even if you go back to last season, if you just take, and you can't take these away, everyone knows it, but you have that outlier Missouri game that I think someone referenced in here in the chat box, Blake did, but they give up 500 yards rushing. Like, that's such an anomaly. It's not going to happen often. And then you have the Ole Miss game where so much that hindered the defense last year actually was caused by the offense, JB. I would love to go back and look at the time of possession, but I looked at this the other day. How many possessions do you think the South Carolina offense averaged last season in SEC games? Not just kneeing it or anything like that.
They averaged. Hold on, because I did some math on this the other day. They only scored under Mike Shula. They only scored touchdowns, I think, on like 16 of 98 drives or something like that. But that included obviously Charlotte and South Carolina State and Virginia Tech. So I'm going to go with maybe. Well, it's got to be around 10.
Yeah, 10. 10's the number. So in SEC games, the offense averaged 10 drives a game. Go look around the country. Like, that doesn't happen. There aren't usually 10 possessions in a game, and it happened because South Carolina was going 3 and out. They were holding the ball for 2 minutes. Like, that's not complimentary football, and that's why I go back to saying that a lot of the defense's issues last year were being gassed, being put in bad situations. All of a sudden you're down 14-0, 14-3, or like the Oklahoma game, where you can talk about how much the defense actually did in those games to keep Carolina in it for maybe when they get that 1 out of 16 touchdown drive to get within 1 score. Yeah. So I believe that the offense is going to help the defense more than it did last year. And if I already have Clayton White and all the guys we've just rattled off and we haven't even talked about the secondary, I feel fine.
I've got the numbers right here. 16 of 98. So Carolina scored touchdowns. I mean, you can do the math. 16 and 100.
15.7% of the time.
0.3. It's actually, it shifted the other way. 16.3% of the time they scored touchdowns under Mike Shula as the OC through 9 games, which is jeez Louise, goodness gracious, that's what I'm saying. If you're just marginally better, 20%,
you're on it.
Nobody's asking you to be, the LSU of 2019. You just got to be, JV. Can you be JV? All right, we are on time. Great, 10:45. We got to hit a timeout. We will talk about scoring points in the SEC. As a matter of fact, an interesting, well done, by the way. I'm not so sure I've ever seen research like this, but well done as it pertains to the entire league. And what is that mark? What is that mark where you can win 3/4 of the games that you play in? What is that offensive mark? So we'll talk about that again. Schubert and Mad Dog are on the way as well. Presented by Resto Pros and our friends at the West Law Firm. It's the morning show. We'll be right back.
Gamecock Traditions is your Nike superstore and your home for anything and everything with a South Carolina logo. Visit us in the Midlands and order online at GamecockTraditions.com. Go Gamecocks!
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
Walk me through the toughest case or situation we've had to handle without names or locations. Just what was the toughest situation?
The hardest one was there was an individual that defended themselves in their home and they're still criminally charged. And there was evidence that they were being sought after for something that they weren't technically involved in. And they're being charged criminally because they defended themselves inside of their own home for doing what was right and what we believe at Right to Bear to be a human right.
TheBigSpur.com, now part of On3. Join for just $1 today.
When you buy and sell your sports and fitness gear at Play It Again Sports, you support a local business. We pay our customers for their quality used sports and fitness gear and resell it, recycling it back into your community. Support local, score savings.
Palm Casual Patio Furniture presents our coverage of South Carolina football. Visit palmcasual.com today. Make your outdoor space the best it can be. Go Gamecocks.
The State Farm Personal Price Plan helps you create an affordable price just for you.
Contact local agent Gary Patterson for your personal price plan today.
A really common fear in a workman's compensation case is what's going to happen to my job if I report this injury? And my answer to that is you still need to report your injury. I'm dealing directly with the insurance company. And the insurance company is going to treat you like a file number. So let me make sure that doesn't happen to you. Let me get involved in your workman's compensation case.
Coffee, weekday mornings with JC Sherbert. Watch or listen on the Chief Sports app, the Chief Sports YouTube page, and available on Apple and Spotify. You're tuned into Inside the Gamecocks, presented by the West Law Firm and Resto Pros of the Midlands. Part of the Chief Sports Network. Go Gamecocks.
Okay, 10:49. It's the final segment. We'll make sure that we get to the offense. Matt, you'll be here in the 11 o'clock hour, right? You're not bailing on me, are you?
I will be here. I will be here as long as necessary today.
We'll make sure we want to make sure we get Schubert and Mad Dog in on that conversation as well. Again, we're waiting for the SEC to release their preseason all SEC teams and coaches predictions and all that type of stuff. One of the things that I've noticed here recently, and now that we've wrapped up SEC media days, we'll see if they we'll see if they correlate, is that so Brett Ciancia has Vanderbilt kind of going back to being Vanderbilt this year. He's got them finishing 15th, and he didn't have one unit ranked higher than 12th, which is their quarterback unit. And that's because they signed Jared Curtis. He's got their defensive line at 12th as well. Yeah, that's it. Everything else is pretty low, 13th or 15th. Arkansas, for what it's worth, is everybody's last place team. But and Phil Steele has a Vanderbilt finishing 11th, so he's a little bit higher on those guys. I don't know what would 11th be in the SEC from a record standpoint. Like,
because you're going to 9 games too, so I mean, you're pretty much going to get rid of like the ties, like where like you have 4 teams at 3 and 5.
Yeah, I guess so. What do you think? Like 5 and 7 overall?
I don't know.
Would that make sense?
I mean, let's pull
up something like that. I mean, it'd be something like that. Basically everybody has Vanderbilt taking a step back, which is natural because South Carolina doesn't have to play them, so why not be not very good and be fantastic last year, and break that winning streak for the Gamecocks, and then the year that Carolina loses them on the schedule, you just go back to not being very good again.
They have a good schedule though, JB. I mean, Vanderbilt, they have a pretty decent schedule.
Maybe that's why he's a little bit higher on them. Well, okay, yeah, you're right. So they'll open 2-0, and then NC State comes to town. It's kind of must win for them, isn't it?
You'll kind of know after 4 weeks with Vandy if they've kept up their momentum to an extent or if they've dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah. All right, so is there a Vanderbilt from 2025 in the SEC in 2026? I mean, they had some expectations last year. Like, they weren't picked high, but they weren't picked last either. But is there
probably Mississippi State
SEC team that you think so? Oh, no. Not to get to 10 wins now.
Arkansas had a lot of games where they scored 40-plus points or 35-plus points. I mean, if they can get that defense in order, I mean, they could surprise people. Mississippi State has like the new fun X-Factor quarterback, Kamario Taylor, that everyone wants to talk about. But he still only has 77 snaps or 77 pass attempts. I just can't crown people yet. You know what I mean? Like, at least Diego Pavia had a couple years in the system, and, he showed some promise, 2 years ago. But, I mean, the SEC, it's a quarterback league, man. You got to have one. And if it's going to be Jared Curtis, good luck going from private school Tennessee football to the SEC. I don't know how that'll work out.
Look, Arkansas, Ciancia mentioned yesterday they brought in, all these transfers who were, I mean, they took, they took a bunch of guys on the offensive side of the football out of the portal who were kind of under the radar G5 FCS type kids. And then they signed a bunch of kids on the defensive side of the football who were backup Power 5 players. And we'll kind of see but dude, have you seen Arkansas' schedule? I mean, I think it's the toughest schedule in the country. I mean, look, man,
they're looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, they ain't going to Utah and winning. They're not beating Georgia. I guess they can beat Tulsa. They're not beating – I mean, they'll beat North Alabama to lead it off. They're not going to College Station and winning. They're not beating Tennessee. You could consider Vanderbilt a toss-up. They ain't beating Missouri. Texas, LSU.
Yeah, that's really difficult in South Carolina. I mean, that's very difficult. I mean, you could have a team that's quit. I was going by points per game last year. I mean, Mississippi State, I mean, because you got to think, like, who was a team that was, like, okay, and then they could go to 10 wins? Because that's what Vanderbilt was. They weren't terrible by any means. So, I don't know.
I'll tell you, and I agree with you on Mississippi State. I think that they will be better than people think. Let's hope that not by week 3. But I do think they'll be better than people think. But, dude, I do have it's a difficult slate. It's a very difficult slate when you look at Kentucky and the fact that they've got Alabama in week 2, but I would still circle that game, man. Like Alabama under Coach DeBoer has had a difficult time in road contests. I mean, they got the crap beat out of them in Oklahoma by a bad Oklahoma team 2 years ago, who you felt like it kind of like Carolina kind of put the nail in Oklahoma's coffin, if you remember. Like it was like, but they went to Vanderbilt, and obviously they lost. They have struggled on the road. Look what happened in Columbia last year. I mean, they should have lost the game. Carolina kind of coughed it up. They did cough it up. Week 2, Alabama replaces basically your whole offensive line. You don't know who your quarterback is. You got to that could be one of those strange nights, when you're in Lexington, you look up and it's like, 14-13 in the fourth quarter, and everybody's going, I don't know what's happening here. I thought Kentucky could score. I thought Alabama could score. Neither of them can. But Kentucky goes to A&M. They come to South Carolina. They go to Oklahoma. They go to Tennessee. Those are not easy, and I don't think that they'll win any of those games. And they go to Missouri. They've got Louisville. They got Florida at home, Vanderbilt at home, LSU at home, South Alabama at home. Like, I feel like Kentucky is a team. They're not a 10-win team, but they got a couple of I bet you didn't see that coming, huh? Somewhere on the schedule. I just don't know where.
Well, they're similar to South Carolina too, and this is going to be an interesting case study. They don't have any back-to-back road games.
No.
So,
point.
I mean, if you can hold serve at home the best of your ability, we'll see. I mean, look, like I said, I'm all for Will Stein and what he's talking about. And look, if we know one thing about Dan Lanning, he was hands off of the offense. Like, that was Will Stein's offense. Now, does he have, Oregon players now at Kentucky? I don't think so. But he should be able to scheme some stuff up. I don't know. I mean, do we think Auburn makes a resurgence with Golish?
I don't know.
I mean, that would kind of be the other one, JB. Like, maybe they could pop up, but I mean, if they can finish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if they can finish 4-2 to start the season. I mean, I can see Auburn getting to 7, 8, 9, 10 wins.
They could.
If it bounces their way.
Look, I mean, Auburn. Well, I know we're at the end here. It's 10.
Well, South Carolina could also be that team.
Phil's 2 minutes late on the music. Phil, wake up! Put the music going. You got it. Yeah, I left it in your hands for you to do it. Baylor, Southern Miss, Florida, Vanderbilt. They've got Baylor in Atlanta to open. Auburn does. Southern Miss, Florida, Vanderbilt, all at home. So they don't even have a true road game. Auburn doesn't until October the 3rd in Knoxville, but that starts a tough stretch there too. So Tennessee, at Georgia, LSU, at Ole Miss. Woo! Yeah, I don't know. All right, we'll talk more about it. We'll get into the offense as well. Sherbert and Mad Dog will join us. The morning show. We'll be right back.
If you own a home, don't wait on these home safety tips. Flush your water heater, clean your dryer vent, and inspect your roof annually. Don't forget to check washer hoses and caulk in wet areas. Visit RestoProsMidlandsSC.com.
A really common fear in a workman's compensation case is what's going to happen to my job if I report this injury? And my answer to that is you still need to report your injury. I'm dealing directly with the insurance company, and the insurance company is going to treat you like a file number. So let me make sure that doesn't happen to you. Let me get involved in your workman's compensation case.
Ryan Brewer Fence offers a variety of services ranging from fences and railings to columns. Our craftsmanship, experience, and service is second to none. Visit ryanbrewer.net today.
Andy, why are you burning all that money?
Because if you're buying a Honda or Toyota, that's exactly what you're doing. Look at the new Kia K4. It's $2,000 less than the Civic, and Honda only has a 5-year warranty. JT's Kia has a 1,000,000-mile warranty.
Don't forget JT's Advantage Package. Oil changes, roadside assistance, and so much more. Why burn money?
I-77 at Killian Road or Greystone Boulevard. We're serious about saving you money.
JT's Kia.
Kia summer sticker sales event.
Is this your golf game?
It doesn't have to be. Visit McKellarEnterprises.org and improve your game today.
Do you carry? Carry responsibly with us. What could you lose from a self-defense act? Visit ProtectWithBear.com to find out more. ProtectWithBear.com.
You're tuned into Inside the Gamecock, the morning show, part of the Chief Sports Network, proudly presented by the West Law Firm and brought to you in partnership with Game Day Nuts, boiled peanuts, no shells.
All right, hour two, final hour for me on the air this week, and welcome back. Friday, July the 24th. Media Days is in the books, and Sherbert is on time. Out of hair and makeup, and we are off and rolling. The king of late night, Matt Anderson, in for hour number two as well. Presented by Resto Pros and our friends at the West Law Firm. Visit westlawfirmsc.com. All right, JC, right out of the gates, let's hit him. Let's punch him in the mouth. You ready, Anderson? Let's punch him. Favorite Gamecock football uniform. Give us your strong take so you can get some hate.
Oh, this is tough.
Yeah,
I mean, well, a lot of it's when. So I have two answers, not to be lame. A lot of it's when you grew up. You know, when you started watching Carolina. Like a lot of my friends that are a little older than me, they love the George Rogers era uniforms, right? Me and sort of the Gen Xer, a lot of the Gen Xers. We love the garnet helmets, black jerseys, and white pants of the Joe Morrison era. People that came of age in the Spurrier era, Holtz era, they like the white helmets, all garnet, the Stormtroopers, all the most recent iconic uniforms. If you talk to people about all black, it's very, it used to be Carolina didn't win when they wore all black, but they've had some big wins in all black recently. But it's very polarizing. I like the all black myself every now and then. So I'd have to say, okay, so here's my answer. It is the garnet helmet, black jerseys, white pants. Now, if it were me and I was in charge, okay, the George Rogers era uniforms would be the standard home uniform at South Carolina. And I would go all garnet with that look sometimes with the white helmets, which I think would be the big game garnet look. And then I'd go to an alt black uniform every now and then. I don't know that now is the time to resurrect the Morrison era jerseys, but I know I'm going to get hate for it because uniforms, especially when you're at a school like Carolina, has two primary colors. It's just it's a preference. It's like sports announcers. I think we can all agree the Holtz era uniforms that look red were probably the late Russell Athletic era are probably the most hideous time period of Gamecock uniformdom. They just weren't much.
For those that now want to hurt JC Sherbert, bodily harm, if you send me an email, I'll send you his direct address. And because he may have disagreed with your uniform take, you can go and punch him right in the face. Because I've never seen a topic ever that matters so little get so heated and animated. Now, like, I have an opinion, but if nobody agrees with my opinion, it's okay. Like, I'm not really that upset about it. I gotta take care of my children and work and stuff like that. But I do think that there needs to be, if you really want to do it right, I think you either embrace one of two things here. I'm more in favor of like embracing like some sort of code where it's all garnet with a white lid during the day and then black at night, with a white lid and the occasional black lid. And then I like all white on the road personally, but But if you don't want to do that, then fine. Just mix it up every week and just be known as a program that it just has, look, we got 15 separate uniforms we can wear. You don't ever know what we're going to look like.
That was one of the disappointing things, and it wasn't Muschamp's fault. It was, I blamed it on Under Armour a little bit, because Muschamp, Spurrier liked his uniforms kind of standard. Right?
Yeah.
And Holtz especially did, except for that last year where he went all black, emphasized the black. Spurrier, they'd break out the big game garnets. They'd wear black every now and then, but shoot, and he did the same thing at Florida. Florida usually was the orange helmets because they had blue helmets before he got back to Florida. Do you know that?
I did.
Yeah, they changed it, and that kind of became the iconic Gators uniform, and I think there's something to be said about that. But with Muschamp, he didn't care because there was a lot of things Muschamp cared deeply about, but a lot of things he didn't. A lot of the things he didn't were the things. So they should let the players pick every week. And shoot, I remember one game I looked at there. It was like Texas Tech. With I think it was the black helmets and garnet and black, and it was one of his. And I thought, well, there's a missed opportunity there because I looked at Under Armour and I looked around at like Maryland and like how they incorporated that wild state flag look sometimes. And if you want to be cool like Oregon kind of does a different combo every week. I just thought there was more that could be done with it, but they were just mixing and matching jerseys, and it just kind of got weird. Now Beamer does a little different, Beamer in some of those games early in his tenure and with the black helmets and the all garnet look or whatever. I don't care for that, but they've won some big games with that. The Tennessee game, the Texas A&M game at home, they've done all right with those. So it doesn't really matter. But I'm with you that some sort of structure. And the problem too is there's been so many coaching changes and not a lot of periods of time of Carolina football history where they've been good, where you can, iconically say, all right, that's our uniform. That's why Alabama wears what they do. That's why Clemson wears what they do. Is because, we were good for a long time when we just stuck with this, and this is what we're good. This is what we do. It doesn't matter as far as it doesn't mean you're never going to win if you switch them up. But if you want to know why Carolina has never been able to settle on a look, that's why. Because there's no like 20-year period of a great run where they wore the same uniforms. And so everybody this is what we do. And that's another one of those things that I think you have to, winning kind of has to come before you establish it.
I would say this too. Like I just took a peek over at the McKellar Enterprises fixture golf game. If you suck chat box. It is really neat to see the fact, Matt, that there are, again, this doesn't matter. Nobody cares what you win or what you wear if you win. Like nobody's gonna be like, that was a great win over Alabama. But I tell you what, we should never wear those uniforms again. It'd be like, hell, wear those next week. They beat Alabama in them. They don't care as long as you win. But it is really neat to see that all these people, some share our, JC's opinion, some share mine, some whatever yours is. If I'm sure you're about to tell us, we'll share yours. But then, like they also believe something different because the Gamecocks do have colors that all look pretty good. Even like the ugliest version of a South Carolina uniform looks pretty good. You know what I mean? Like it might not be better than all of these other ones, but it's okay. I think the one that kind of drove me the most nuts, I think that I ever saw was like if I remember this, like the garnet pants and the garnet helmet with the black top. Like I wasn't huge on that. But
it's Texas Tech looking,
but like, it's okay. Again, if you win in it, everybody wants to see it the next week. So it is kind of unique in the fact that everybody has all these opinions because actually they all have some sort of flavor to them. Not every school can say that. You know what I mean, Matt?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, football jerseys, I'm fine with what we talked about earlier, garnet in the afternoons, black at night, whatever. I've just spent the last 5 minutes looking at my favorite Gamecock basketball jerseys. And I wish they would go back to what BJ Mackey wore. I know they were Converse or even like Carlos Powell and Mike Boynton. I'm looking at a picture of them now, and it has a Nike check on it, and they're just a lot better. The basketball uniforms drive me crazy.
Yeah,
I don't even. Yeah, sorry.
Let me ask you all a question. If you could go back in the basketball era to like the nut hugger, really short shorts era, or the Jinkos era that Devin Downey played in, which era would you go back to? Nut huggers or Jinkos?
Jinkos, dude. Nut huggers to me are like, I don't know, man.
We're getting closer to nut huggers than we are to Jinkos.
Well, I mean, okay, so I was part of this transition because in 8th grade, there was actually for a while a picture of my 8th grade basketball team on my X account. If you're wondering why it said Tigers on there, that's why it's DR Hill Tigers. And boy, those I mean, you know, I thought it could cause you some problems later in life as tight as those things were. You know, and then so the next year though, when we got to Burns, you know, the shorts loosened up a little bit because if you remember in the 90s, this was the era of people started wearing baggy jeans and Umbros. Man, there was nothing hotter to me than some soccer playing chick with a tan that had Umbros on. I just love those. And Jams. Everybody remember Jams? So the point is the shorts got longer. Now, my stepson 2 years ago, and I felt like he was going to have problems later in life because the kids started wearing these really, really tight. The guys started wearing these almost slim pants, skinny. It took skinny jeans to a whole new level. And they were proud of it. And so, but now it's loosened up a little bit. So I guess it just kind of depends. If I had a choice, binary choice, now the jerseys, I like the George Felton era of South Carolina with the thick garnet lettering. And I think the throwbacks to the McGuire era with the thin South Carolina look good. You know, look, man, Carolina, the only Final Four they've ever been to, they just had the word Carolina on their jersey. And was, you know,
I love that. I thought that was awesome at the Final Four.
You know, I mean, so but you know, just I guess again, it kind of depends on sometimes it depends on when you started watching it. You know,
well, I would one of the other things I had written about in that very debated uniform opinion piece. Well, I guess that was in June. Was that you could have this would be good from a marketing standpoint, a sales standpoint, because just keep in mind all of these things intertwine. We sit here and talk about uniforms, and somebody's back there going, "How can we make more money on this?" You can always have a throwback game every year, and you know, you have every season at South Carolina you have a military game. This year it's Towson. And usually it's a non-conference game because they want to give tickets to the military and things like that. But you could have a throwback game every year where there's a different jersey from a different era or a different helmet or whatever. But that gives Nike a chance to come up with something. And guess what they do? They put the product out for the public to buy, right? So you're increasing sales as well. So you can do a throwback game once a year and then have everything else still in play. I don't know. Whatever, Russ. All right. Let's talk about points. Matt, you had a really cool article up, and I just don't like giving you credit, but I'm going to do it anyways. Up on the Big Spur about scoring points, and you pulled data from the SEC over the last few years. What are you saying? It's titled "The South Carolina Offense and Scoring Points in the SEC." So what is the synopsis of this? If you just got to get us straight to the point here.
Yeah, so you always see those stats, and I agree with them. Like, you know, score this amount of points, this coach's winning record is blah. And I was like, well, why? Why does that? Why is it because of the conference they're playing in? Is it because of their style of offense, their style of defense? You know, why is it that? So I always start with the question. And then I wanted to look into see the average SEC team. And what I found out is, you know, pulling all of the data, there really is a sweet spot once you get to, you know, 33 plus points. You know, if you're under 26 points, you're probably only going to win 30% of your SEC games. And look, you know, JB, you said it. You know, what's Shane Beamer's record when scoring 30 points?
Yeah,
it's pretty daggum good. So, I wanted to figure out what that threshold was for any team, not just South Carolina. But what really was interesting, when you got to 34 points scored in an SEC game, you win over 75% of the time. And just thinking about it broadly, if you win 75% of your SEC games in a 9-game schedule, you're probably going to be in the college ball playoff hunt, right? So trying to figure out what's that number. And the number might be, 33, 34 points. The other interesting thing is, if you score more than that, you probably already won the game. But sometimes you get in these shootouts and you can lose because if you're not playing complimentary football and the other team just gets a chance to score again, and then you score again, they score again, who gets the ball last will win the game. So it was a fun exercise. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Kendall Briles, as an OC, is on a 5-year streak of his offenses averaging 30 or more points per game from Arkansas to TCU. And how they get there has obviously been based on what type of quarterback they have. KJ Jefferson was a little bit different from Josh Hoover, as we all well know. And you go look at the team statistics and the individual statistics of whoever was running the offense at that position, and that tells you it means Kendall Briles has a good offense, but it's also flexible to the guy who's in charge of it, right? So what I noticed in your work here, you've got in a 3-year view at the entire league to put the specific number out there, 34 to 41 points. You broke it up pretty well here. So when you score less than 10, that's obviously not good, but 34 points to 41 points. The record of SEC teams from in the last 3 years is 72 and 22, meaning you win 77% of the games that you play in. Last year, it was in that same category, 34 to 41. They were 24 and 7. Guess what? 77%. Okay, so South Carolina last year couldn't score.
Yeah,
like literally could not score. If Kendall Briles, we think the defense is once again really good. We talked about that earlier, led by the defensive line, probably being undersold a little bit nationally. If Kendall Briles takes this football team, this offense, and averages 30 points, if they average 30 points, that means they've scored over 30 points plenty. Okay, I'm talking about an average here. What does that tell you about the Gamecocks?
It tells me the Gamecocks are going to be in a large majority of their games and have an opportunity to win. I mean, remember, I didn't pull just offensive points. I mean, teams score points different ways, and South Carolina has been pretty adept at scoring points different ways under Clayton White and Shane Beamer and Pete Limbo and special teams. So, it doesn't matter how you get there, right, JB? So if you're telling me that Kendall Briles' offense is going to score 30 points a game, I'm going to say, start looking at SEC championship tickets and, Williams-Brice Stadium potentially hosting the college football playoff game.
Mm-hmm. I correlating with points. Look, points is what matters, as we all well know, gentlemen. 400 yards is a big mark under Shane Beamer. And under Shane Beamer, the Gamecocks are really, really good when they get there. They've only hit 400 yards of offense in 37% of the total games that he has coached, but they are 20-3. We're not talking about 500 yards or 450 yards. We're talking about 400 yards of offense, which seems like a very universal benchmark, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 400 yards of offense. And that's not just against all weak competition either. You got the SEC involved in this. Now, Kendall Briles, when he had KJ Jefferson at Arkansas, they went over the 400-yard mark in 2022 10 times. 5 times they went over 500 yards, and 2 times 600 yards or more of offense. 9 times in 2021, 3 of those 9 were over 500 yards. 2 of those 9 were over 600 yards. And in 2020, remember, that was a 10-game season all against SEC competition. They were over the 400-yard mark 6 times. You're talking about 25 times in 3 years at Arkansas for Kendall Briles. Shane Beamer in 5 years has gone over the 400-yard mark 23 times.
Again, you see some stars aligning.
we're talking about marginal improvements here that could change everything for South Carolina football. I'm not predicting like some wild season where South Carolina is a national seed. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. They could all fall apart on defense. I don't think it will, right? But they could have over 400 yards, 10 out of 12 games, but give up 500 yards 10 out of 12 games, although none of us really see that happening. So there's a lot that calculates into this, but the point is, yes, TCU is the most recent data we have for Kendall Briles, but the SEC data with KJ Jefferson, and then you take Lenore Sellers and you go, okay, well, KJ Jefferson was a much different quarterback than Lenore Sellers. Josh Hoover was a much different quarterback than Lenore Sellers. Lenore Sellers might be, if you will, maybe a little bit of a blend of them and then some. Maybe you bring Derek King into the mix here because he played for Kendall as well at Houston in 2018. But 30 points, 400 yards. Like if South Carolina is there more times than not, Matt, I just think it's pretty simple. The Gamecocks are going to have a really good year.
Yeah, and also go back to that 2020 season you mentioned. Who was the quarterback that year at Arkansas? Felipe Franks.
Well, yeah. Franks and both. Yeah.
Keep in mind, too, nobody played defense that year either. I mean, South Carolina.
Well, that's totally fine. That's totally fine, and I agree with you, JC. But I mean, you're still talking about 21 and 22, where they.
Oh yeah.
19 games over 400 yards.
Hey, I'm not downplaying what they did in 2020. They were not supposed when the all SEC schedule came out. I think they had to open with Georgia and close with Alabama.
And they also lost their starting running back. He just decided to quit playing that year.
They were coming off of the Chad Morris era, and Sam Pittman had just gotten there. They weren't expected to win a game, and it was universal that they wouldn't win a game. And they went 3-7, lost on a last second field goal to LSU, and then lost on a last second field goal to Missouri at the end. So they'd won 5 SEC games that year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not downplaying. I'm just saying stats wise, everybody kind of skewed up. But man, it's Felipe Franks. We know him, we love him. We saw him run straight through Carolina, but if Dan Mullen had called one more pass play in 2018, Carolina probably holds on and wins. The guy was not exactly known for his quarterbacking. KJ Jefferson I went back and watched the A&M Arkansas game in 21. It's on YouTube. It's a nice cut up, 15 minutes. You get through it. And I mean, you just look at him run and you look at him throw and you're like, this is like 60% of what Lenoris is when he's rocking and rolling. And even on Lenoris on a bad day, Lenoris is a quicker, faster, better armed quarterback. And like somebody said the other day, they said Kendall Briles averaged 30 points per game every year. And he said that the opinion is, and he hadn't had a guy like Lenore Sellers,
right.
Just had no NFL guys at quarterback at all. I mean, Hoover may end up being that guy, but I don't know if he doesn't turn.
Well, I'll give you one more stat on Kendall Briles that I've just been kind of holding on to. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, so I'll bring it up here. Even in a very pass happy offense with Josh Hoover and defenses really knowing what TCU was all about. If you go back and take the top rushing defenses in the conference and you line it up with how many rushing yards they gave up per game, TCU only averaged less than 17 yards per game rushing difference than what the teams gave up on average. So he was still manufacturing ways to make the running game work, even though he was throwing for 300 yards passing. So like you talk about his adaptability, I just thought those numbers were going to be, this is like I ask myself a question, I look it up and I start reading it. And it's like, that's crazy to me that, they were able to stick with a team that was a really good, rushing defense and still put up numbers. It's crazy.
There's a lot of cautious optimism around here, and rightfully so. There have been way too many times where we felt like this and that were pretty good, and then it didn't happen. So I think the fairly large majority of South Carolina fans are going, yeah, that sounds great. We'll believe it when we see it. And I don't blame them for saying that one bit. I am right there with you. I think that you're spot on Because also too, and I know we got to get to a time out here in a second. So much is different. I mean, the data that you pulled, Matt, is wonderful data, and I'm not discrediting the data at all. But the way that teams were built in 23 and 24 has once again changed significantly to what teams have in 2026. The movement in the portal, and kind of how the roster comes together, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, what we thought we knew, 2, 3, 4 seasons ago, there might be an adjustment in 2026 to how that information is compiled and what it actually means at the end of the year. Our defense, like there's kind of like when you think about defenses in this league has always been known for defense, as we all know. But there are certainly some years where, it's not SEC defense overall I'm talking about league wide. Like you're always going to have Georgia, and I think Oklahoma might be the best defense in the league this year, personally. You're going to have your top guys, but is the depth of the league on that side of the football what it sometimes is? We just don't know. We just don't know until we actually get out there and see it. That's what makes it so hard to predict these years. Now, all these people that do all these predictions and here's where they're going to finish and this, that, and the other. I mean, you think about like when the national guys put those predictions in. I'm not even talking about like the ones that we trust the most, like Phil Steele, Brett Ciancia. I would throw Chris Lowe into that. I think these guys just do incredible work. But I'm talking about like other dudes, whether they're shows or podcasts or whatever. Here's what I think. And then you get the coaches who traditionally have just kind of, remember when Spurrier, JC, hey, Jamie, why don't you fill that thing out for me and send it in? Robbie Lau, where's Robbie Lau? Robbie, who you think is going to be 12th this year? Well, why don't you put them in there? Okay, that sounds good. Send it in. Like that's almost kind of the approach that the entire league's taken, because these coaches, like, they look at it and they're like, I can tell you right now, I recruited against all of them, and none of us really know who we're going to be. And nobody can figure that out till you get 2, 3, 4 weeks into the season.
Yeah, well, there's so much roster transition, and then it's hard to project. Whereas previously, you could kind of, the team recruiting rankings to me have been overrated by fans in the sense that people panic if you're 18th as opposed to 15th or 18th as opposed to 9th, like it's the AP poll. There's a big difference between the 9th and 18th ranked team if the voters know what they're doing. And when you're doing teams, when you're doing recruiting classes, I kind of compare it to a building, like a floor. Like with team rankings on the team, like the AP poll, BCS, whatever, what you're saying is you got a full floor, going up. Recruiting rankings are a matter of feet, because it may be 1 or 2 players that boost you up or down, depending on the algorithm and, the difference between 4 and a 3-star, that kind of thing. But still, over time, you could tell, well, the teams that recruit in the top 10, 70, 80% of them are usually your best teams, because you didn't have as many transfers. Chances are that your hit rate with that kind of talent would go up. You'd develop, and you'd have juniors and seniors that were experienced in your program that were talented, replacing the people that left. That's how Nick Saban did it. And that's no longer how you do it in college football. You can't. Ask Dabo Swinney and James Franklin about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to do that because, you're not only getting players that may be good enough to start at your place that aren't at another place, and then they come to your place and they're better all of a sudden because of the development process. You're not only getting that, you're getting guys from like D2 that set the SEC on fire as a quarterback, the outliers, because there's just such a difference in football between freshmen and juniors. And the guys that were rated highly, yes, at a higher clip, they're the better ones later on. But then there's that 40%. Because, the other 40% that were highly rated decided they weren't going to work, or they got hurt, or they weren't very good to begin with. And then these under the radar guys work their butts off. It's a talent game, guys, but it's a talent maximization game. And it's hard to predict that when you have 40 new players on a roster every single year, even if you're coaching those guys with no scrimmages, no this, no, you don't know how you match up. So it's intriguing. It's exhilarating. But as far as predicting this sport goes, it in time we're going to quit. We'll just quit. We'll tune it out because it just won't matter.
You're right.
Yeah, in time, things like the hot takes from SEC Media Days and the picks and all that won't even matter anymore, unless there's some sort of structure. But that's a different conversation. But yeah, it's very difficult to predict this game, which I think coming off a 4-8 season at South Carolina is a good thing.
It's 11:31. We do need to take a timeout. Presented by Resto Pros and our friends at the West Law Firm. The king of late night is in. Schubert is in, and we'll be right back.
If you own a home, don't wait on these home safety tips. Flush your water heater, clean your dryer vent, and inspect your roof annually. Don't forget to check washer hoses and caulk in wet areas. Visit RestoProsMidlandsSC.com.
Now is the time. Finish your hardwood floors with Recoat Revolution. Beautiful like new floors in just one day. Hardwood, vinyl, laminate, concrete, tile floors. Any floor. We can do it. No dust, affordable, and 5 stars. Give us a call in South Carolina, 803-397-1365. Or visit us at recoatrevolution.com. Go Gamecocks.
Do you carry? Carry responsibly with us. What could you lose from a self-defense act? Visit protectwithbear.com to find out more. Protectwithbear.com.
Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage can help you save big today anywhere in South Carolina. Over 27 years experience. Visit ggmortgage.com. Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage says go Gamecocks.
Dry Space Crawl Space Solutions are your local home protection experts. Crawl space encapsulation, sump pump and drain installs, humidity control, duct cleaning, basement waterproofing, concrete leveling, and French drains. We do it all. Visit dryspacecs.com. dryspacecs.com. Go Gamecocks.
If you have experienced water damage, storm damage, fire or smoke damage, or need mold remediation, you need Resto Pros of the Midlands. Visit RestoProsMidlandsSC.com and go Gamecocks.
Join us every week for SEC Sunday Night on the Chief Sports Network.
Subscribe to FourQuarterFriday.com for just $1. High school sports coverage in South Carolina. Part of Rivals and on 3.
This is Inside the Gamecocks, part of the Chief Sports Network. It's time for Carolina football, presented by Palm Casual Outdoor Patio Furniture.
When I wake to find the solace of all we've become, I can't wait to make the promises that I've been leery of. Take me down, let me see how I'll be there in the morning when times have changed. I'll be there through the lies and all. I'll be standing like your soldiers and you told. Through the days when I need to be alone, I will wait for you through the rise and fall. I'll be there in the morning when times have changed. I will wait for you through the rise and fall.
It's coming up 43 days until kickoff at Williams-Brice Stadium. Condolences go out to whoever is getting fired by Bruin because We noticed during the commercial break that.
Well, I hadn't looked at the comments yet. I just saw Matt's message in the private chat. Bruins firing somebody in the chat. And I was like, already? We haven't even kicked off yet. Chill. And that's
Bruins just laying down the hammer in the chat.
That's right.
Yeah. Well.
I thought he was talking about Phil getting here.
Right. Not only does that guy have to explain that he got fired to his family, he has to also let his family know that everybody knows he got fired.
Yeah.
So,
his wife is a big Gamecocks fan. She's probably watching right now. And she knows exactly who he said.
Yeah.
Like, she's on the phone with him. Hey, you need to get in there now.
Bruins, the boss man.
Things are taking a turn for the worse, honey. You need to get out of bed and.
Oh my gosh!
I cannot. For those that don't know, he said, "Tell his ass he has 30 minutes to get in my office, or he could just go home permanently." I've had enough of that lazy so and so.
Oh man. Yeah. Well, some days you're the dog, and some days you are certainly the fire hydrant. So whoever that is the fire hydrant on this Friday morning. Welcome back. Mad Dog saw that somebody was getting the axe. He thought, well, I better get in here.
Wait, hold on. I need to show up. I'm not having a very good morning here. Right
things aren't
it's not all in my control, but yeah, that last whiff was.
things are looking rough. Oh man, we again at some point in time here, pretty soon, we should have. We should have the predictions that kind of determine who does and doesn't get fired, at least from the SEC coming out soon. Where do y'all think South Carolina will land in the eyes of the coaches?
8th.
Really? I think they'll do a little better in the coaches than they did in the media.
What was the media? What that end up being?
Well, we don't have that.
Yeah, we're
yet.
not sure yet on that either. They're
So
dragging
tallying the vote. Was it the state of California? Or they're just going to count
right?
the votes for 30 days.
They're going to count the votes and then adjust them as needed. Phil,
who's mailing in ballots? Was that Kornblut?
Yeah, Phil. That's. I wonder how old Finker's doing now. Now that he told us that him and Kornblut are neighbors. Poor Steve. Could you imagine? Coming home. Kornblut's a late. He's an animal. He stays up. He's an owl. Stays up all night. And could you imagine Fink getting home at like 1-something, 2 in the morning after a 7:30 kick at Williams-Brice Stadium, and there's Kornblut standing in the front yard, going. So is he going to be able to play next week, or what's going on?
Oh man.
Phil, that's enough out of you. Go to bed. Speaking of Phil, Steele has the Gamecocks 9th. Behind Tennessee and LSU, who are tied for 7th. Which actually, all right. So let's be clear on something here. Steele has Georgia and Texas tied at 1, meaning he's got Georgia and Texas in the title game. Okay, so he's got them basically finishing with the same record. They don't play each other in the regular season, right?
I don't know. They may. Georgia.
No, they don't. Georgia plays Oklahoma. I've got this. Remember, Matt, don't ever forget this. Don't leave home without your handy dandy helmet skip.
Screen right here.
And then so according to Steele, if those guys finish there, he's got Alabama and Oklahoma finishing tied for 3rd. So you're talking about, basically 2nd. And then Ole Miss and A&M finishing tied for 5th, which basically means 3rd. And then Tennessee. So he's actually got South Carolina essentially tied for 5th with Auburn.
South Carolina got a lot more players than Auburn.
Yeah, I don't know.
Their roster is not back.
Well, I think let's see, what's he going off? I see what he's going off of with Auburn. They open, we talked about this earlier, Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a road game until October the 3rd at Tennessee, but After that, they are off, and then they go to Georgia, and then they got LSU at home, and then they go to Ole Miss. So they got 3 or 4 on the road there. Woo! But then Arkansas comes in at Mississippi State, Samford, and Alabama. So he's probably looking at this thinking, all right, well, Florida and Vandy are at home. Arkansas is at home. They go to Mississippi State. That's 4.
I think they start 4-0.
You think they beat Florida?
Yeah.
They beat Baylor. Baylor's in Atlanta. I don't know what Baylor's last year. They ran all over Baylor, and then they couldn't run the ball lick the rest of the year. So Mike was out of that game. It's a Friday night game.
What is this guy talking about? Where does this kid occasionally come from? Like nobody else can see it. Only we can see it.
Yeah, it's
like what? He's a part of our network. We're not dogging on him. Like, what are you talking about? Shut up.
Like, dude, where have you been? Hey, and that's a rhetorical question. I don't want an answer.
It is such a douchebag. Ciancia,
he's the one that got fired.
Yeah, right. Like, hey, you need to be in Bruin's office in 30 minutes or you're out.
Reminder.
He can't get out of his basement. He's currently, what was it in Billy Madison where he like just has his list? He just
list of people to kill, like Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, putting the
Danny McGrath. Hey, this is Danny McGrath.
Ciancia has the Gamecocks tied for 10th with Missouri, but he's got Alabama at 7th. That's what I'm saying. Nobody knows.
Missouri's going to be Ahmad Hardy. You know, that's
do we know?
Question. Well, and then there's Austin Simmons, and then they lost their OC.
He said Hardy's going to be okay.
Yeah, but they say he's going to be he's good, but they don't know when he's going to play. When he's going to be clear to play, which could be. I mean, I don't know what'll happen there. I think Missouri's going to be good on defense again, but they have some changes though. Kirby Moore left and took what job did he take? He's the head coach somewhere now. So they got a new OC they brought in. They also brought in Garrett Riley to coach quarterbacks. And you got Austin Simmons.
I'm going to tell you a story.
Let me tell you something.
I was talking with somebody I greatly respect, who covers that team in the upstate. And we were talking about Garrett Riley. I asked him, I said, what's going on up there? You know, I was curious. How's it going with Chad Morris? And he said, you know, I think it's okay. He's like, I think people are excited to have him back and this, that, and the other. And honestly, I didn't really expect much different of a response from that. I think really they're kind of grasping at straws, to be quite frank, but that's okay. That's for another day. But he made a comment to me. He said, Garrett, he said, I think that one of the things that we kind of got fooled with Garrett was the offense that was so good that he had at TCU, which y'all remember that was like a top 10 offense in the country in 2022. He said, we think, it seems like that was really Sonny Dykes. He was like, I'm not telling you got anything to worry about, but that's something to keep an eye on. If you're, with Kendall, was he running Sonny Dykes offense? And I was like,
I don't want to run Sonny Dykes offense here.
That's what I said. I was like, yeah. So here's the thing. I was like, yeah, I know I get what you're saying. I know. I was like, but no, A, we don't want Sonny Dykes' offense at South Carolina, but B, did you see what Kendall did? I mean, Kendall, A, wasn't bad at TCU, but did you see what he did prior to getting to TCU? Actually, his numbers were way better at Arkansas, in a league with much more difficult defenses to get through week in and week out than the Big 12 than they were in Fort Worth. I think we're actually getting Kendall Briles' offense here, not Sonny Dykes' offense. So if y'all feel like if Sonny Dykes was running the offense and you maybe he was, I don't know, but I don't think it equates to Kendall Briles with what happened at Clemson with Garrett Riley. I think those are two different conversations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and the thing was what they ran at TCU before they got obliterated by Georgia was it looked a lot like Lincoln Riley's offense. If you think about, Lincoln Riley, say what you want about him as a head coach, but his offense is a little bit more dynamic in the run game than like your traditional air raid or like a Cliff Kingsbury at Texas Tech. He's got a little more sizzle to kind of the different things he likes to do. And that's what it looked like at TCU, because Sonny Dykes isn't really a guy that Sonny's more closer to Mike Lee. I mean, he'll throw it every down. I mean, the guy loves throwing the football. Sonny Dykes.
Yeah.
But they ran it, and with Kendall, I think the big gripe out there was they didn't run it as much. But in his defense, as far as rushing yards go, because I don't think Kendall Browse cares. He just wants to put points on the board. That's fine. That Hoover's a cement shoe guy. I mean, Indiana fans better hope he makes good decisions in the pass game this year and doesn't turn it over, because like Mendoza could get some yards if he needed to.
Sure.
Right. Roark the year before, even though I thought he was donkey, got some rushing yards. He's more of a runner. They're not going to have that luxury this year because Hoover isn't going very far. Now, Kendall used him inside. I think he had 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns because he'd sneak him when he got close. But that's the kind of a good thing for the offense, because you call it, maybe you don't have a dual threat guy every time. But the Dykes Browse thing, and you heard about it too from fans and stuff. And I don't know that Sonny Dykes was enamored with the setup, just based on, his track record, what Browse has done previously, and all that good stuff. But, they still put up yards and points and all that. I don't know how great they were on defense, when he was out there. But his track record in the SEC at Arkansas, I mean, it's clear that it works. And then guys, you also look at the other similar schemes around the league. I mean, so Josh Heupel was Sonny Dykes before he went to UCF, and his OC there was a guy named Jeff Lebby. Lane Kiffin was more like a David Cutcliffe type of guy, pro-style pass game, Spurrier kind of stuff, until he went to Florida Atlantic and Kendall Browse was his OC. And now you got John David Baker at Ole Miss. They're going to keep running it. Kiffin's at LSU with Weiss. Auburn with Alex Golish. That's part of that tree. So these types of offenses tend to, even work against the best defenses. And, I think it's smart to go in that direction. And you've got the guy that kind of, not the guy that created it, but you got his son who's added to it and who's, creative and a heck of a play caller. So I understand the spin from a very respectable member of the Clemson media. I understand the warning, but you kind of really have to go back in time. And really what gets it for me with Briles is, had Muschamp hired him back when he hired BMAC, right? I was all for it because he was at FAU and I thought it was aggressive, creative, and fun. You'd still have that I'd still have that question. Well, it worked in the Big 12 and it worked down at FAU, but is it really going to work in this league? Right. Well, now we know it does with Kendall, because at Arkansas went, when he left, from dangerous to terrible. And they had Rocket Sanders and KJ Jefferson back.
Yeah.
And Dan Enos, who's got a great reputation as a play caller and an offensive guy calling the plays.
Mm-hmm.
They went to terrible pretty quick. So the thing I love about the hire now, as opposed to maybe back then when I've still been in favor of it, is you've got a track record here of a guy that's done it at this level.
Well, I think that, Matt, one of the things that is really intriguing to me about Kendall Briles is, who has he coached under, and has he been the guy who was like, this is your offense, you run the offense? We just had a conversation similarly about this the other day. Like, how will those things be handled by Shane Beamer this season? Shane's the head coach, right? So historically speaking, when there's an important decision to be made, the head coach is going to make the decision and let everybody know what's going on here. However, if you have a good offensive coordinator, that is a very informed decision. You know what I mean? Like you feel way more comfortable about whatever decision you're making because of the information you have from your offensive coordinator, the confidence you have in him to run whatever play it is in whatever situation it may be. If you get into a position like that, and we all know that there'll be in plenty of them this year, as every football team is. But when you go look at Kendall Briles, okay, we just talked about his tenure, which was it was a good tenure. I mean, he had great offenses at TCU under Sonny Dykes. They had some rough days. They had some bad games. There's no doubt. Okay, but I think we all understand that there's certainly, based on what we've learned since he was hired, yeah, there was certainly some back and forth pulling going on there when it came to who was in charge of what, when it came to the offense and some of the decisions that were made and how things were going to happen and work out, et cetera, et cetera. When he was at Arkansas, Sam Pittman was not – he was – I don't want to say hands off, but he was hands off. Like, this is your offense, son. You run it. And they were really freaking good, weren't they, guys? So if Shane Beamer is taking kind of a hands-off approach, again, he still has to be a head coach because he has to be accountable for what happens out there. An offensive coordinator, a good one's always going to think he can score. It's 4th and 17 from our own 30. Coach, I think I can get 18 yards here. No, we're going to punt that one. Like I get that part, but if this is really Kendall Briles' show and Shane Beamer has given him the autonomy to run it, like good head coaches do in college baseball, you're the pitching coach, you make the decisions. And I'm basically, I hired the right guy. I can count on you to make the same decision than I would, or a better one. If that's the case, I think South Carolina's in a really good spot. So when you look at Kendall and you compare like some of the stops in his career, you're talking about 1 year with Lane at Florida Atlantic, going to Houston in that one season in 2018 and having Derek King at quarterback, coaching under Willie Taggart. Come on, guys. At Florida State in 2019, getting full autonomy to run your offense for 3 years at Arkansas. And that was really, from a statistical standpoint, in the most difficult league in the country. That was the big hitter from a time period since he separated from his dad. He was with his dad. And then after that, Florida Atlantic, Houston, Florida State, Arkansas. Like, that's something that I think we really need to pay attention to here, because it was in this league and he had full autonomy to do what he wants to do. If that's the approach now, I think South Carolina's in a really, really good spot. I think it'd be a little bit different if Shane Beamer was an offensive coach himself and wanted to have Shane Beamer influence on the offense. If that's the case, I can see trouble. But if that's not the case, I think you're going to see a whole lot more good than bad.
Yeah, shit. Beamer, everybody. I think because there's been kind of a parade of hires that didn't work out. Some people are of the belief that Beamer meddles in the offense. That I can tell you absolutely not. Will Muschamp didn't meddle in the offense either. There's a little secret that many of you will not. I mean, now I'm not saying that Will, because he was such a, he had his thoughts, right? And I'm not saying that an OC won't look at the head coach and try to do things maybe that they're not comfortable with or that they wouldn't do if it were them, but with it working within the parameters of what the head coach says. And that's not what I'm talking about. That's what the head coach does. But Beamer, I mean, look, man, the idea with Shula was just keep it going for one Dowell, and then they didn't do it. Yeah. So Beamer clearly, if anything, has been too hands off. Think about the Satterfield thing at the end. Who do you think mandated that? So I don't think you have to worry about Shane. I mean, Shane's going to decide whether to go for it on 4th down and punt, kick, run the fake. I think special teams now. He's like, let's do this here.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the point I'm making, guys. Like, that's where we kind of made this point the other day. That's where, while Shane may have been blamed for that in the past, why don't you step in here? Step in, Shane. You're the head coach. Step in. Nobody's wrong in saying that. Like, you're the head coach. Your neck is on the line. You're responsible for the team. But if also that's his philosophy and you truly have hired the right guy, then all of a sudden that works in your favor, that hands-off approach. So while it could have been a negative, that same approach turns into a positive, right, Matt?
Yeah, I'll say one thing on that. And I know that Shane is a fan of analytics, and there's a reason for it. There's a lot of head coaches that are fans of analytics. Now, in the past, 4th and 3 on the opponent's 44-yard line, the analytics say go for it every single time. Now, the difference I think that's going to happen this year is, first, obviously those conversations are being had in the offseason. Like, hey, what's your philosophy? This is my philosophy. This is what we're going to do. Be prepared to do it, but executing it. It seemed like far too often it was, all right, well, 4th and 3 on the opponent's 44, we're going for it. And, oh, crap, let me find a play. Or, oh, crap, like the defense, no, my play is not going to work right now. We need to substitute. We need to call a timeout. We need to do something. I think when you actually have a proven offensive coordinator like Kendall Briles at the college level, those things can be run smoother. And I think that's going to be the difference in, talking about Shane being hands off, but also hands on, right? Get ready for it. If we're in this situation, we're going for a dial of a play. What can we execute? And that's been missing.
Well, I think that, JC, that's where you made the comment earlier about what you heard. Hey, look, God, I was scoring 30 points a game and I didn't have Lenore Sellers. How many times last year did we see? Definitely last year. This wasn't really the case under Dowell. Maybe a handful of times, but Dowell. Let's give Dowell some credit here. And Dowell was pretty good about making sure the football was in Lenoris's hands when the football needed to be in Lenoris's hands. Last year, if you go back to how many? Gazillion critical moments offensively in the football game, and we're sitting here. We're all sitting here going, hey, Lenore Sellers is your quarterback. Just let him pick up the yard.
4th and 2. I mean? Why are we handing it run straight in the middle again? Again.
You've got, make him, even if you're not going to let him do it, make him a factor in thinking that he might be the guy that does it. Right? JC, you talked about that a lot last year. John Strickland talked about it all the time. Doofus Flint talked about it all the time. He's not really a doofus, but he kind of is. And the fact that you've got this guy and the 11 dudes on the other side of the field either already know how to stop it or they're not worried about it. They're worried about this. But you have the best athlete on the field, and he just wasn't utilized. That's just that will never be the case with Kendall Briles.
Yeah, and that's true, and it was a very all the coordinators have different issues. Like Satterfield, I think we've talked to death. It was trying to do too much in a week and really outsmarting himself when he kind of.
I wouldn't go that far. I think putting your defensive end in to throw a pass on the goal line is actually smart, but nobody asked me.
Brilliant, genius. But no, but you saw what happened when he, they said, all right, settle down, Beavis. Here, let's just let's do a play sheet and just call it and haul it and go. There's a must-champism for it. The daily must-champism. Call it and haul it.
I love that. I'm a big fan.
I love call it and haul it. It's funny whenever must-champ you say call it and haul it, the offense would be better. So,
I know.
I think with Dowell, my criticism of him would be twofold. Number one, I don't blame him for anything that happened in 2023 with that offensive line. And Spencer Rattler played his butt off. And they had 2 receivers. I mean, that's one running back. Come on, you can't win games in the SEC that way. Trying to maybe overcoach Lenoris a little bit with some of the pro concepts in the past game and the past game in 24, I think hurt them early rather than just simplifying and going. But I think he figured it out. And operationally, the offense wasn't a dumpster fire. It wasn't. You didn't see all these penalties and just missed assignments and things like that. He did simplify things. And I think in games, once he did start getting going, right, he would divert to this NFL style of letting the air out of the football a little bit. Like against Missouri, I think that kind of cost them. Instead of being, if any criticism of him, it's be more aggressive. And then Shula, I think, was just past his prime and just, I don't know what, that was more of a, let's try this thing from the NFL in 2015. And then he also took, he was like, with the substitutions and the packages and stuff, he was like Marcus Satterfield in that way. And then Dowell when he had a lead in the other ways. NFL guys, they lose 6 games a year and it's a good season. So they're out there trying things, trying to set other things up, waiting for the moment to strike, because that's what you have to do in that league.
Yeah.
And it just, that's not a way to win in college football, especially with Lenore Sellers, who wasn't comfortable with it and all the line issues. So, but Browse is a different animal than all those dudes. I mean, this is a different offense than anybody's ever tried to run at South Carolina. I think Skip Holtz in 2000 probably was the most cutting edge as far as something kind of modern that they've tried. And that's nothing to get Spurrier in his offense. His offense is timeless. It's a classic. It's great. Sign me up tomorrow for it. But this is when Dabo hired Chad Morris the first time. This is when Tommy Bowden, to use another Clemson reference, how bad they were under Tommy West on offense. And then Rich Rod came in with his new stuff, and all of a sudden Clemson was pretty good on offense. Same guys. I mean, this is what this is. This is a step in a new direction, and I'm here for it.
Well, being aggressive is a huge part of it. Like the aggressiveness had been just castrated from this offense. There was no aggressiveness at all, and you can't play timid or scared in the SEC.
No.
Not with a freakazoid at quarterback like that. And then the other part of it is, I don't think South Carolina ever put the defense in what's called, you want to put the defense in conflict.
Yeah.
Where was the conflict? Oh, this is a pass play. Let's spy him up and drop,
Yeah,
Nick Harbor lined up on the outside 77% of the time.
That was it. That's it.
Like,
I mean, but that was the only conflict really that was presented throughout the season, Matt, was what's Harbor doing here?
Yeah.
And that's why it was so lethal downfield. But aside from
even
that,
if you play college football with Jamie, like the video game, if you move Nick Harbor around the field, like even the 12-year-old in his mom's basement is following Nick Harbor, and you'd be like, nope, not going to let him go deep. Didn't even do it. Didn't even think about it. Just line up over there. We'll take all the pressure away from this spot because you're over here. No, that didn't work.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, before I get out of here, it is a National Cousins Day. So to all my cousins, I love most of you. I love all of them. And I have a lot of cousins. A lot. It is also National Tequila Day. Any of you going to celebrate that? Probably Phil.
No, I don't do tequila. It's like the one thing I
You
want
have a
to drink.
Mad Dog coffee cup?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I thought it just said he was mad.
Yeah, I can't even. What am I doing here?
I would turn it around where it says dog.
Oh, yeah, that's right. No,
Phil's got that dog in him.
You have a Mad Dog coffee cup.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Does it say dog on the other side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you order that? Or you
No,
already had it?
this was a gift a couple Christmases ago from my father. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. What Cockweed just said in the chat got me.
Tell him that's hilarious.
Well, I got to see it.
National Spouse Day.
Yeah, it's National
Cousins
Cousins Day.
Cousins Day.
Also known as National Spouse Day for Tennessee fans. All right, it's almost football season. That's good. They're back on the schedule.
That's right. That's right. Let's
Things
talk
are
all the
really-
junk we can.
Or a heart attack. All right, so no National Tequila Day for you, Phil.
No.
If JC does tequila, he won't wake up till Monday, so I know it's out for him. Not
Yeah.
you either, Matt.
No liquor.
We might go to a Mexican place. There's one in town that's buy one margarita, get one for free. Maybe I can talk the wife into it.
The BOGO. Yeah.
Oh, don't let my wife hear that, or we'll be moving to Florence.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm not big on tequila. So, all right. And then finally, we might all celebrate this, though. If you're not big on tequila, it is National Drive-Through Day. How would you celebrate National Drive-Through Day? Starting with Sherbert.
All right, so what I'm going to do, I got my wig and my dress that I wore on Halloween a few years ago.
Yeah, don't
And
wear that.
I'm rolling up to freaking McDonald's, right? I'm honking the horn and I'm going, where's the beef?
In that tone?
Yeah. Where's the beef?
That's not as unusual as it once was, you know.
Ma'am, please.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
JC, the sad part is like There was a time where we once would, like laugh like that would be like, oh, do I call him a he or what does he go by? Like this will be
this guy here.
An inordinately long amount of time analyzing whether or not this was for real.
Nowadays. She asked for more beef. Give her more beef.
More beef.
I go, well, you can really throw him off in saying that you actually identify as a he. You can call me
sir. There you go, sir. But it's my wife doesn't like for me to do voices in the drive-through, and so I've retired that part of my life. I used to go through the drive-through and I would do voices all the time. Especially up here, like when I call for reservations, I still do it. I'm like, hey, dude. Hey, hello, this is Raviolis. Hey, dude. How you doing? I need for two tables for 5 o'clock tonight, all right? Yeah. I'd call up that bar that in Greenville me and Phil used to go to when the karaoke night. Knowing they had karaoke, I do the same voice. How you doing? Hey, y'all got a damn karaoke tonight? Hey, Yoki? All right. See you soon. Give me a cold beer down there? How you doing?
Just out of curiosity now, after all that, which drive-through would you be going through today to celebrate National Drive-Through Day?
McDonald's.
Oh, okay. All right.
Because you don't go to Wendy's. There's a Wendy's commercial. They were clowning McDonald's.
No.
Or White Castle could work because there's really not a lot of beef on there.
Yeah, right. Just nothing
if
there.
It is beef.
How about you, Matt?
If I had to pick, I'd go to Rush's.
Don't do that to me.
Okay. Phil, National Drive-Through Day.
Oh, I don't know. I'm feeling chicken today, so I'd probably go up to I don't do Zaxby's anymore. I've discovered this Huey Magoo's, which is actually pretty good.
Huey Magoo's is good. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where did I go there? That was not in Charleston. I'd probably get a Chick-fil-A. I love Chick-fil-A.
No, that's a solid choice. Anytime. Yeah.
Chick-fil-A or gotta wanna need to get a have a Bojangles
for breakfast.
I would go to Bojangles for everything. I love Bojangles. Anyways, all right. Matt, great stuff. Glad you got to see me.
Yeah, it's always nice.
Yeah, thank you. We're getting closer, my friend. We're getting closer. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
And we will be back on Monday. To all of you who will stick around till 1 o'clock with these two, best of luck.
Good luck.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Dry Space Crawl Space Solutions are your local home protection experts. Crawl space encapsulation, sump pump and drain installs, humidity control, duct cleaning, basement waterproofing, concrete leveling, and French drains. We do it all. Visit dryspacecs.com. dryspacecs.com. Go Gamecocks.
Is this your golf game? It doesn't have to be. Visit McKellarEnterprises.org and improve your game today.
Test ride at Electric Bikes of Charleston today. Road trip ready. Ride comfortably. Forget road fatigue. The Velotric Fold 1 Plus features our exclusive Comfort Max frame design for an effortless, upright riding posture and a low step through. With an adjustable seat and stem, you'll be feeling great and ready for the next campsite adventure. Your back will thank you. Visit Electric Bikes of Charleston. ElectricBikesCharleston.com.
Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage can help you save big today anywhere in South Carolina. Over 27 years experience. Visit ggmortgage.com. Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage says go Gamecocks.
New year, better floors. Now is the time. Refinish your hardwood floors with Recoat Revolution. Beautiful like new floors in just one day. No dust, affordable, and 5 stars. Give us a call in South Carolina, 803-397-1365. Or visit us at recoatrevolution.com. Go Gamecocks!
Jeffrey's got space. horns and got me those red shoes. I don't know much, but know one thing that's true. If you don't know anything, just know that clowns are people too.
Now back to the clowns on the Chief Sports Network.
Welcome in, everybody. It is Inside the Gamecocks, the show portion of the ITG Super Stream. Final hour of the show, final day of the week, and that, of course, means we've got Late Night come to town with the king of late night himself, Matt Anderson, is in. Sorry for the delayed crossover there, because we finally did get some information, guys, out of SEC Media Days with the polls. But welcome in, Matt. Good to see you, JC, and yeah, we got some South Carolina names on these all SEC preseason team lists.
Yes, two of them. You got
the most predictable too.
Yeah, Stewart first team, Harbor, Harbor third. So look at all these teams ahead of Carolina.
Yeah, the Carolina is slotted as 11th. Is this the media? Media, yeah. So this is not the coaches poll.
Oklahoma 7th. There's people talking about them winning the national championship.
I don't know.
I mean, Alabama 6th, LSU 5th.
I don't think the media knows what to do with the transfer portal. I really don't.
No, they don't. They really don't. You know.
Well, and you also have to consider like what is considered media in this poll is I mean could be a lot of bloggers, just bloggers, podcasters.
Oh, where was Bama?
6th.
Yeah.
Wow.
It goes like this. It goes Georgia 1. I would vote Georgia number 1 over Texas just because Georgia's been winning it.
Mm-hmm.
It was close though. Texas 2, Ole Miss 3. I think that's fair. A&M 4. We'll see. LSU 5. We'll see. Bama 6th. We'll see. 7th Oklahoma. 8 Tennessee. Florida 9th. Missouri 10th. I would not pick Florida over Missouri. You don't pick them over South Carolina. That's fine. 11th, the Gamecocks. 12th, Auburn. 13th, Vandy. 14th, Kentucky. 15th, Mississippi State. 16th, Arkansas. All right, so here's my bottom group. I had Mississippi State 13th, Kentucky 14th, Vandy 15th, Mississippi State. In Arkansas 16th. I mean, you know, Diego Pavia was such an important player for them, and I know Jared Curtis is supposed to be really good, but I mean, I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's good enough to elevate Vanderbilt like Diego did, and that's nothing against them. A lot of respect for Clark Lee and all that. Kentucky not being higher surprised me a little bit. I think there's some hype around them being better than expected. You know, Mississippi State's just out of habit. I think they nailed it putting Arkansas last, but which I feel bad about. But
yeah,
you know, a lot of this is just like, oh my God, we can't have these guys lower than whatever, and oh my God, you know, there's a little bit less of that this year, though. I think, I don't know, it's just kind of crazy. So.
Yeah, it's not like we're going to be able to get a breakdown of justifications and things, but I'm with you. I think Kentucky might be a little low. I think Mississippi State might be a little low. No, I'm not like so terrified of them. I think they should be, in the top half or anything. There's a couple of spots above that. I could easily justify slotting Mississippi State ahead of Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I mean, so Vandy's getting a lot of credit for last year, and then the recruiting win, which I learned my lesson one year. So when the Dave Wanstadt was at Pitt, one summer at Rivals.com, right? I think Pitt was still in the Big East at the time. They killed it in recruiting. Like they got all these dudes from Western PA. You'd think Johnny Majors, Jackie Sherrill, Tony Dorsett, Dan Marino, Hugh Green were back, right? And so I think we projected that when we were doing our picks for the conferences, because Rivals at the time was strictly recruiting, basically, and then a little bit of college football. So we picked Pitt like fourth. Bro, they lost to like Miami of Ohio in the opener. And they were just god awful. And the recruits stuck and they ended up being okay down the road. But the Jared Curtis win, yeah, okay, that'll help, but that ain't gonna help this year. Not replacing Pavia, and not in that system. That system is what made Vandy go. Hard to defend. And Pavia had ran it for 4 years. And by the time he was done, he was killing it. It's very nuanced. And plus Jared Curtis is a different type of quarterback. Jared Curtis is 4 or 5 inches taller than Diego.
Yeah.
Not as good of a runner, a better passer, arm slot wise. But so what you're asking yourself is Vandy going to be able to sit back there and pass pro if they're going to drop? Is that what the kill zone wants to do? There's a lot of questions about Vanderbilt. I think they'll be pretty salty and tough on defense. But I mean, you're asking, and I know we're talking about the 13th through 16th picks here. So I just don't get it. Will Stein, here's my question about him. He got up at SEC Media Days, kind of reminded me of Derek Mason, speaking of Vanderbilt, and said, because of me, great. Okay. So every offensive coordinator Oregon has had for how many years has been really good. Even Willie Taggart had a decent offense out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even Smoking Willie got the that's his nickname. I don't know why. Call him Smoking Willie Taggart. Smoking Willie had a good offense. Everybody out there's had a good offense. I mean, they get skill, talent from all over the country. Good, fast players. They all want to play. It's the wings on the helmet, I think. But I mean, so, and I'm not downplaying him. I think he's an excellent play caller and all that. But he's not calling plays. He's I'm not calling plays. And we've been through this here, right, many times. We know that it matters, and it does. Joe Sloan's calling plays, the LSU coordinator that got fired in the middle of the season last year. and Sloan's pretty good when he's got players, and he's pretty good working under Skip Holtz at Louisiana Tech. But I mean, was it? I don't know if it was Brad Crawford or somebody mentioned him as Shane's next coordinator when he became available. And I was like, no, how about no? No. Because I could just see it. I was like, it's not going to work. But it's not a difference maker. And then who do we have? Dave Bartu on?
Yeah.
They called Jace, was it Spearman? He used to be at Army in North Carolina, the D coordinator. He called him the worst defensive coordinator in college football.
Worst coordinator.
Now, I thought the guy did a pretty good job at Army, and I kind of, there was word that Beamer was kind of talking to him and stuff before he hired Clayton White. Things didn't end well at UNC. I mean, and then they replaced him with Jeff Collins, who gave up 70 points to James Madison. And at home, and so you kind of look at it and you're like, well, are those really coaching upgrades from what you had? Now, Bush Hamden or whatever his name was, the last coordinator, the final pro style savior that Mark Stoops brought in there.
Right.
He was god awful. He was god awful. He was worse than anybody they've ever had.
Which is saying something.
But Brad White, I'm going to tell you this right now. Brad White is now back in the state of Florida working with, I think John Summerall actually played or coached for Brad White at Kentucky. Summerall's a Kentucky guy. You watch, Florida's defense will improve this year. He's a good coach. Coaching matters, and if you're a head coach and you have a strength and you're like an overwhelming strength, like the reason Will Stein got that job is because he's a good play caller. And you just say, I'm not going to do it. And better yet, I'm giving it up to some guy that's got a mediocre track record that couldn't move the ball at LSU. And he's going to move it at Kentucky. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I'm looking at this stuff that we got sent over, and I cannot fathom Oklahoma at 7.
Hold on. Repeat yourself because you froze.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking over this stuff from, SEC Media Days and the media poll. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't know how Oklahoma is number 7. Like, that is ridiculous. They have probably the best defense in the country. They have John Mateer, who's going to be much better than he was last year. And it's another thing where we talk about Diego Pavia, to bring it back to Vanderbilt, JC, and years in the system, just years in the system. And if you think that Oklahoma is going to be 7th, I mean, they're going to be better than LSU. They're going to be better than Texas A&M. And they might be better than Ole Miss. Like, I see Oklahoma as a top 3 team, and I could be crazy, but man, defense wins.
Let's look at their schedule, shall we?
Yes.
All right, so maybe it's a schedule thing. Let's not trash our media.
Well, they have a tough one. I mean, they play Utah,
tough opener.
then at Michigan.
Tough opener.
New Mexico. Now who's New Mexico? Is Jason X still coaching New Mexico?
Let's see.
I think he is, or maybe he got one of those California jobs. New Mexico's been through a tough time because they've been competitive, but it's not been.
Yeah, it's still Eck.
Eck's a good coach, but Oklahoma will handle them.
Yeah,
but that UTEP opener scares me. Friday night in Norman.
Friday night. I know. Yeah,
the UTEP Miners at Michigan. I don't know what to make of Michigan. Half the people you talk to about Michigan say Kyle Whittingham's the best coach in America. He's going to win a national championship.
Are they all Michigan fans?
Nah, they're more Kyle Whittingham fans, which is good. But look, man, I'll say this. Sometimes guys that are at a place for a long, long time and are winning go to another place that you think they will win even better at, and they don't. Mike Riley was that way. Mike Riley was the best coaches. He made Oregon State competitive, and Mike Riley built that thing and was good. I remember he was up for the Alabama job for a while. Well, finally he left and went to Nebraska. Disaster for 3 years. Made them even worse. Okay. So sometimes that works out, sometimes it doesn't. It's still at the big house. It's still a big noon kickoff. I'm still wondering about Oklahoma's offense. They did have a lot of young offensive linemen last year that'll be better. So my scenario I'm thinking is Oklahoma's defense completely overwhelms them.
That's my thinking. They don't have to score 25. They can win 21-17,
and then I think, adapting to a new, because Sharon Moore, all he did was basically continue what Harbaugh was doing. They got new systems, new players.
And Venables is going to have the entire offseason to game plan for Michigan because he's not worried about Utah.
Well, he's going to speaking of Jason, not Jason Eck, but Beck, the OC from Utah, he went with Whittingham. So he's their OC. He's pretty good. So then you got New Mexico, the Lobos, and then you go at Georgia. But then you have an off week before you play Texas. Now, this is the year Oklahoma will probably win that game because it seems to go back and forth every other year. Then Kentucky comes to town. Then at Mississippi State. So then South Carolina. Then at Florida. Then Ole Miss comes in. A&M comes in. Then at Missouri. so the SEC made this huge deal out of the Missouri-Arkansas game being a rivalry, right? But now, no, it's going to be Missouri-Oklahoma on Thanksgiving weekend. Arkansas is going to play Texas. Okay, whatever. Or Arkansas is going to play somebody else. Anyway,
I see 2 losses, maybe. I see 2.
I don't.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Georgia, Texas. I mean, your road. It's a home road balance. So their road games in conference are Georgia. They go to Starkville. They go to Florida, and they go to Missouri. That's favorable, dude.
It's very favorable away.
Yeah. And so then everybody else is coming to town. Lane Kiffin and his crew knew how to dice up Venables' defense. Is John David Baker going to be able to do that? I don't know. It does play pretty favorably to them. So why would they be 7th?
I have no clue. It makes 0 sense.
Ahead of and I know LSU being 5th. I know people aren't really, buying the hype. You know what I'm saying? With the roster, because I think there's been some intel pumped out there that, hey, this is not going to be their best roster. A&M ahead of them. Here's my question about Texas A&M, and then we're going to get back on the Gamecocks point, okay? Because there is a Gamecock here. So Elko lost his 2 coordinators. Now, I don't think Mike Elko honestly needs. I mean, somebody thinks Jay Bateman's the worst D coordinator in college football. Okay, well, he's Elko's D coordinator the last couple of years. Yeah. Who's really running that defense? Mike Elko. He's elite. Brent Venables, Mike Elko, I think, are the 2, and Kirby Smart are the 3 best defensive coordinating head coaches in the league. And so say Elko is running. It doesn't matter. He promoted from within on defense. Who cares? Lyle Hemphill, I think, is the guy. Offensively, though, which is where you can get into trouble if you're a defensive-minded coach, as we found out here, right, Matt? Matt, pay attention. Matthew.
Matt.
Right here.
Yeah, but you didn't say anything.
Yeah, that's right. Right now.
You're looking off into space.
No, I'm trying to look at Elko's defenses over the past couple of years at A&M to see.
Pretty salty.
Oh, he's running the numbers in real time. I love it.
Yeah,
I love that. Okay, so he promoted a guy named, I think, Holman Wiggins, who's never been a play caller at any level. I remember Holman was at Virginia Tech for a year under Scott Loeffler, which that name, when I talk about offensive football excellence, escapes me.
Holman Wiggins.
Holman Wiggins. But he's a journeyman. He's got a great reputation as a coach. But he's getting the opportunity to go call it. Okay, so their OC the last couple of years has been Colin Klein, who went back to Kansas State, and who that K-State system, they run a little bit of option. They can throw. It's a really good system that they've run through the years. And Colin Klein was a K-State quarterback and all that. I thought he did a fantastic job at Texas A&M. So now you're handing it over to this guy, and then you start to read, well, we're going to do some, because I'm convinced too, pro-style offenses, power runs, defensive coordinators love those. They're like, we love that. That's our style of offense.
Well, it's complimentary football. Of course,
yeah,
they love it.
But it definitely comes. But run the ball. And so, if I'm an A&M fan, I'm going. And then I watched a preview on them the other day. Marcel Reed, and then this, and Mario, and this guy, and that guy. Got to be concerned about the offensive line. Got to replace some there. You don't just Here's another thing we know with the Gamecocks. You don't just say, now they've got to find an offensive line and get away with it. We also know this: when you pressure Marcel Reed,
bad things
do not happen good for him. So my question is this guy just going to keep it going? with what's been successful for them, with what Reed's thrived in and those receivers and all that? Or are we going to see some, hey, let's do a bunch of substitution patterns, go really slow, grind it out with an offensive line we had to repair with Trovon Ball? Have we seen how the power run game works with that guy? The pro style power run game. I mean, I think sometimes you can mess it up with coaching. A&M's immensely talented. They probably got more NFL guys than outside of Texas and Georgia than anybody. But man, I wouldn't trust it. And I think Mike Elko's gotten his flowers all off season. And I agree. He is an excellent coach. But I also have seen really, really excellent coaches screw it up 6 ways from Sunday by making a poor coordinator hire. And when we get back, Phil and Matt, we're going to have a discussion.
Okay.
Because I'm done talking. I'm not done talking, but I'm going to let you guys talk. And we're going to talk about some examples through the years of when you go in a new direction on offense and it's good, like quote unquote dynamic, you're a little bit more creative, aggressive, and fun. How it's worked, and we've had examples at South Carolina. And we've also had examples of how it hasn't worked when you've gone the other direction. But there's some other examples, and I mentioned up at Clemson. There's some Clemson examples of this. You know, there's some Alabama examples of this. There's some, I think this is. We've spent a long time today talking about Briles. One of the reasons is I think it's one of the storylines everybody's kind of missing about this whole thing. All right. We'll be back. Friday episode of the show rolls on.
Subscribe to thebigspur.com. Proud partners of On3.
Gamecock Traditions is your Nike superstore and your home for anything and everything with a South Carolina logo. Visit us in the Midlands and order online at GamecockTraditions.com. Go Gamecocks!
It's time to bring the gym to you. Do it your way, on your time, in your home. We all have busy lives, kids, work, and anything else that can interrupt our daily routine. Maybe it's free weights or a treadmill. Maybe it's a rower or a home gym. Visit Charleston Fitness Equipment and start taking care of you. Do it your way. CharlestonFitnessEquipment.com. Go Gamecocks.
Whether it's fireside or poolside, if it's time to watch the Gamecocks, Palm Casual will make your outdoor space the best it can be. Visit palmcasual.com and come see us at one of our South Carolina locations. Go Gamecocks!
Today and every day, we celebrate our great state of South Carolina. This week, our hometown highlight takes us to the PD in Lake City, home of the great Darla Moore and our friends in Johnsonville. We love the PD.
Hey guys, this is Mason West with the West Law Firm. We want to say hey to all our friends and family out in Lake City and the Johnsonville areas. This is a great football part of the state. We can help y'all out in any way. Give us a call, 843-897-7525.
This seems about right.
Show me where to go. You'll be waiting at the end, and I'll know I'll see the hill with that pot of gold. I'll see the hill with that pot of gold.
The show loves Spartanburg. Now back to Mad Dog and Sparkle City's finest, J.C. Sherbert.
Welcome back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show rolling on here. JC, you'll be back here in just a second. This is some interesting stuff here. Are you surprised, Matt, to not see Lenora Sellers on this list, even third team? I'm quite frankly not at this point.
I'm not surprised, Phil, but at the same time, like, I will never understand the national media's ability to just live like a goldfish. Like, first team all SEC last year, and well documented the offensive struggles, and the offensive coordinator got fired. You know, everyone in the world had Lenora Sellers as a top 5 NFL draft pick, and one season and it's blink, and Trinidad Chamblees is the new face of football with a flash in the pan season. I can't understand it. But at the same time, I don't expect anything more, certainly not anything more from the national media covering 117 D1 football programs and really only focusing on 40 of them. And South Carolina finished outside of the top 40 last year. So there's nobody that's even thought about South Carolina until it came time to, let me fill out this poll here and let me look at last year's stats. Who's still here? And who's projected to go in the NFL draft? Oh, yeah, let me write their name down because I've never heard their name until today, but it seems like a good idea. Groupthink is
there's a lot of voters, though. I mean, it's
there's a lot of voters that shouldn't have a vote, JC. You know that. I mean,
and you know, but that's what surprised Georgia got more points than Texas because Texas has a large media contingent, just like everything else. So, but.
Well, I wish, JC, maybe we should do this, but Gary Parrish, who I think is he's a pretty good college basketball guy, national guy. He used to do poll attacks, and every single Monday the poll would come out, and they actually post what media member voted which way, and he would call 5 or 6 of them out and be like, "You realize that such and such team hasn't won a game in 2 weeks, and you still rank them 11th? Like, we have to do better as a media group." And I think that transparency is needed, and call people out if they're going to be silly.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, well, the football poll, especially, that's that one guy from the Cleveland Plain Dealer that hates the SEC that in 24 was just insane. But I mean, look, man, the problem is when the media narrative influences I don't want to say simpletons, but the people on the college football playoff committee. Until it gets down to a binary choice they have to make, and then they have to do work. It's like, they flip a coin most of the time.
And that binary choice starts at like team 11 because they have a top 10 in front of them.
Yeah.
They have the automatic qualifiers in front of them.
Yeah. It's crazy how the sport works sometimes. So anyway, back to coaching. Actually, so I mentioned earlier, so here's some examples of complicated versus not complicated. Okay. And I'll use Clemson. So I mentioned Rich Rod came in, right? And great. And then Rich Rod left for West Virginia. So Bowden promoted Brad Scott, who actually is a pretty good play caller at the end of the day. And then Mike O'Kane, who was kind of more of a pro style guy. And then that was 03. And then they went on that tear at the end of the season, had a really good looking offense. Charlie Whitehurst, Dwayne Coleman, Derek Hamilton. I mean, they were rolling up and down the field. They beat Carolina badly. They beat Florida State, and then they beat Tennessee. Tennessee didn't really lose. Tennessee was actually good back then at the Peach Bowl, and it wasn't really particularly close. So then in his genius, Tommy decides, and this was his downfall, offensive guy. He was an offensive coordinator. That O'Kane's really going to call the plays now. We're going to move Brad Scott to offensive line coach. Okay. The next year they went 6-5. Well, that was the fight year. Didn't go to a bowl. All that good stuff. So that was it for, I believe. Yeah, that was it. 04 was it for O'Kane. He got fired. And so then they go and hire the mad scientist, Rob Spence. Now, all we heard from Clemson people, and this was between 04 and 05. So Spurrier got hired at Carolina, and everybody at Carolina was like, well, probably going to at least be competent on offense now. Not that the 04 team wasn't, but Steve Spurrier, he's going to manufacture offense, and he did. He did. All we heard from Clemson people was when they talk about who the next Norm Chow is, it's Rob Smith's the mad scientist. And that offense had some good days because they had really good players like Charlie Whiter, CJ Spiller, James Davis, really fantastic receivers. I mean, they recruited pretty well. It had some bad days. And look, man, they ended up he would not get rid of him. And what I heard was it was so complicated and so specific, and it kind of worked at Toledo and the MAC, but the Clemson guys just were like, their minds were blown by it. He'd spend an hour workshopping the snap from center. I mean, the guy it just wasn't very good. It didn't make sense, right? Probably would work at like a Holy Cross or someplace like that. So the first thing Dabo does is fire him. And Billy Napier replaces him as the play caller. Now, we found out in time, Billy Napier's not all that great of a play caller, right? But guess what? Guess what Clemson's offense did when he took over? It got much better. Much better. And then the next year, they won the ACC for the first time in 20 years with who's calling plays? Billy Napier. Kyle Parker became really good all of a sudden. And, it just – so there's an example there at Clemson, right, where that happened. You go from complex to a little bit simpler and more freeing, and it works. The Arkansas example, Dan Enos, and that's a guy with a great reputation in college. Saban was going to hire him as his OC. I mean, he's really accomplished. RPO guy. Same personnel, right? Essentially that Kendall had, and that offense was a disaster. They ended up replacing him with a wide receivers coach, Kenny Guyton. I don't think he's called a play since. They go to the Swamp. Rocket Sanders just so happens to have his best day, 135 yards. KJ looks like KJ. They beat Florida at the Swamp. Billy Napier's team, ironic. That's a recent example. I just think that, when you've got an offensive system that's bogged your players down and that it just doesn't work. It's just clunky and something's not working. It's always best to go in the polar opposite direction. And I think this is exactly what Shane Beamer's done with Kendall Briles. And Matt, you've got an article coming out if I ever find the right slot for it, because it's so good. I don't want to just put it up on a Friday afternoon, right? We've been talking about this. Some examples of where when head coaches have said, all right, we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to go do this because this works. On offense specifically, fortunes have changed, and in two cases, very dramatically.
Well, I'll add on to that, JC. When you get into that situation as a head coach, something drastic has to happen, right? And you have to make a change that's polar opposite to maybe even your head coaching ideals, because what you've been trying to do isn't working, hasn't worked, and it's your job now on the line. And we've seen it blow up in coaches' faces, but we've also seen it be very, very successful. And when it's very, very successful, JC and Phil, what you find is points per game go up by like 7, 8, 9 points per game. Yards per pass attempt go up 2 or 3 yards per pass attempt. Rushing yards per attempt go up 1 to 2 yards. And you actually see a transformation that happens, and it lasts for a little bit. I've said for a long time, I think eventually Josh Heupel is going to get figured out. Every coach does at some point. But being creative and then also being flexible is what makes the best head coach the best head coach. I mean, Nick Saban won for years with the same system. And guess what? He realized this ain't working. And JC, maybe that's somebody we need to put in the piece as well, where we can talk about, sustained success and still changing things up. It's just, college football and the NFL are copycat leagues, and too many teams too many head coaches try and become an NFL franchise and saying this will work because it works at the highest level. And in college, there's just too many instances of a DB slipping and all of a sudden it's a 40-yard touchdown pass, or a defensive tackle not wrapping up Lenore Sellers and Lenore Sellers scampering in 16 yards for a touchdown to take the lead. Like, you cannot play the analytics and the odds in college like you can in the NFL is my takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, you got to. It's about attacking more in the amateur football, like high school and college level. I mean, high schools attack in multiple ways. Some of them still run the wing T and things like that, to get into any advantage you can. In the pros, you're not really getting. I mean, you've got playmakers, right, that are hard to stop at that level, and you've got an advantage whenever you have one. But you still can't just. Yeah, that's why you don't really see NFL, if you have an NFL team like remember the run and shoot, you have the Jerry Glanville with the Falcons and Oilers, June Jones, you had that offense, and then eventually it just, petered out. And that happens in that league. I think the best play callers, the guys like Andy Reid and guys like that, have imagination within structure, but they still have that structure, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're still not out there just attacking, because you're going to attack something so many times. I mean, they're just going to adjust, and then you don't have a guy that you can pick on all day. You have an elite athlete, one of the best athletes in the world, that's going to go over there and knock your receiver.
Well, that's why Spurrier didn't succeed in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do that, and it's like, you can't count on the other guy being bad. And then you also have to, you do have to trick them. There is some clandestine stuff, but it's a slow, gradual process, right? Now, I'll say this about those guys too. They can coach. They can, because one of the things I like last year, the Bengals played the Bears. Nobody was the Bears had some injuries during the game. Nobody was stopping anybody that day. And you know what? It was a play calling duo. The Bears ended up winning like 46-43. That was a thing of beauty. I mean, there's no college offensive display that I've seen that's that wild and creative and awesome, and guys running wide open in different formations and boom, boom. Ben Johnson versus whoever Zach Taylor, I think, is the Bengals coach. Mm-hmm. They're just dialing them up, dude. Because the defense has allowed them to do that. They don't allow you to do that at that level. You need to run it. You need to have time of possession. It's just how it is. College isn't that way. You try to do that in college, you better have overwhelming talent, which Saban did.
Yeah.
But then Lane Kiffin comes in because I think McElwain got the Colorado State job and left. So Kiffin comes in, and then their quarterback situation was a little iffy. Jalen Hurts won the job as a true freshman. And they're like, all right, let's roll. And then it evolved so much from there. And Saban admitted he had to do it. And so I just look around and I see, just the difference it makes. And in the article, there'll be two examples I talk about often. One was a head coaching change. One was a defensive head coach going in another direction. And that was 10 years ago. But in 2013, Auburn played for the national title, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody know what Auburn's record was the year before?
Not good.
Yeah, not good.
The aforementioned Scott Loeffler was dialing the plays up. Okay. And Brian Van Gorder was the D coordinator, right? 3-9. You know what their SEC record was? 0-8. Carolinas was 1-7 last year, and we talk about how close they were in several games. That Auburn team wasn't close, guys. That was that Auburn team, considering that, they had played for a national title or won a national title 2 years before. And Gus Malzahn hadn't been gone that long, dude. He was gone 1 year, right? And that Auburn team under a national championship winning head coach and a guy like Brian Van Gorder, who was a veteran coordinator, supposed to be pretty good, had better years at Notre Dame, obviously, when he got back in. So that Auburn team lost to Clemson by 7. Clemson bragged about beating them, by the way. And then Mississippi State, 28-10, they lost. They beat Louisiana Monroe by 3 points in overtime. Their defense decided to play against LSU in the hat. They lost 12-10. Then the beatings started. Arkansas 24-7. At Ole Miss 41-20. At Vandy, a good but not great Vandy team under James Franklin 17-13. A&M came to Auburn. And this is when after the Vandy loss, when they lost their sixth game, this is when the beatings started. A&M 63, Auburn 21. In 2012. That was the Johnny football team. They did this also shows you what again the Diego Pavia miracle. I guess this was the first of the 2-game series they had signed with New Mexico State. They did beat New Mexico State 42-7. They beat Alabama A&M later that year too, but listen to the SEC games. So after the 63-21 beatdown, they played Georgia at home, 38-zip. And then at Alabama, 49-0 and saving call it off the Dogs. 3-9, 0-8. All right. The next year, 13. They had trouble. I mean, Gus was kind of the third or fourth choice for the job. They brought him back. They struggled with Washington State and Mike Leach first game, but they won. They beat Arkansas State. They beat Mississippi State close. They lost to LSU. Everything was kind of normal. Nick Marshall had. So then they beat Ole Miss at home. They beat Western Carolina. They win a shootout at A&M. Johnny football is on that team as well. They beat FAU. They beat Arkansas's butt. They beat Tennessee 55-23. It started rolling. Then they had the 2 miracle wins, Georgia and Bama, beat Missouri in the SEC championship. Averaged 30-something, 40-something points a game the whole time, and then almost beat Florida State. So that's how that mattered. They went back to what they were good at scheme-wise, and it made all the difference in the world because it's really outside of Nick Marshall, who was a JUCO quarterback recruit. It's the same group of guys. So, I mean, to me, I'm like, well, that's that's kind of what you should be doing if your offense is such a problem. I'll give you one more example. And we'll go to TCU for that example. Gary Patterson, my boy, who I still can't believe they fired. But that guy that fired him is the AD at Carolina now, so I need to shut up. So they got the Big 12, right? And they went 4-8. Okay, just like Carolina. Beat a bad Iowa State team, beat Kansas. That was the extent of it. And just wasn't working. Right. And they couldn't score in the Big 12. And at that point in time, there was no defense being played in the Big 12. So Gary Patterson says, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're just going to go do what everybody else is doing. And we're going to, spread it out and throw it. And like most Texas schools do. Bro, they went 11-1.
That's the video game number season.
The only loss was to Art Briles and Kendall Briles and Baylor by 3 points. Rolled through everybody, beat Texas on the road 48-10 at the end of the year. Iowa State 55. They beat Oklahoma at home by 7. Still pretty salty on defense. Then they played Hugh Freeze and Ole Miss, the 9th-ranked team in the country, in the Peach Bowl. That's when bowl games still mattered. Nobody was opting out. They beat Ole Miss 42-3. I mean, what kind of difference did that make? They were 4-8 the year before. 4-8. Couldn't score. So I don't know, man. There is, for those of you that think just because there was 4-8 last year that it can't turn around, there's examples. We've come a long way since the Gamecocks went from 0-11 to 8-4, and it was the biggest turnaround ever. There have been turnarounds since then. And most of the time, guys, it's because a head coach has said, I'm going to fix my offense.
Yeah, I mean, it's no sure thing. Kick my desk there, but it's no sure thing that it's going to happen. But we keep laying out all these data points. Jamie's done it, JC's done it, Phil's talked about it. I put it out there. There are reasons for optimism. Now, we'll see what happens in 2026. But if I had to lay my chips on something, I would lay my chips on it working out for South Carolina and South Carolina fans being quite happy about it. because, aside from, the coaching staff, aside from the data points, and this is Shane's record here when this happens, how many points you need to score in the SEC? South Carolina has a 50% blue chip ratio. They have good players. And for the first time in a long time, when we specifically talk about offense, they have a college offense and scheme with a coach that's very, very familiar with running it. And people do not discount Randy Clements and his impact on this offense as well, because in a Briles offense, they're not asked to block for 5 seconds. They're asked to do their job just for X amount of time, and the quarterback has to make that read. And I feel confident that these two guys, Briles and Clements, have done it long enough together. And with the talent that's on the offense, it should equate to something. Like as Phil and I were talking about when we came on after the break, Lenore Sellers is still the same guy who was first team all SEC in the preseason last year and a top 5 draft pick. He's still the same guy. He didn't regress if you look at the data points. He was just under more pressure last year and forced to play in a scheme that honestly didn't fit his skill set. So, don't discount the Gamecocks this year, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I didn't quite understand not even catching. I mean, I know why, because there's bigger names and they got plenty of, darlings this year under center in the SEC. But I mean, there's kind of like you said, JC, there is no consideration whatsoever for the offensive change heading into this.
You don't even hear about it.
Perspective. I don't even know if I heard Kendall Briles' name mentioned at SEC Media Days.
Whereas when Clemson got Garrett Riley, now look, Clemson wasn't coming off a 4-8 record.
Yeah.
In fact, I believe they won the ACC championship in 2022. Didn't they? Yeah. When they got rid of, because that was that was the Carolina beat them, but then they went and beat North Carolina the next week badly for the ACC title. But then Garrett Riley coming over from, TCU and their good run, and he, his last name's Riley or whatever, and everybody shut off fireworks. Kendall Briles has almost been like an afterthought when people are talking about it. And except by people like Cole Kublin.
Yeah, right.
Film watchers
who understand, here's my thing. And this is super positive, but it's Friday. We're going on a positive note because there's negatives too.
That's right.
There's negatives too. Here's the positive thing. I talked earlier about putting the defense in conflict, which Carolina rarely did. There was no conflict, I would be really freaked out a little if I were even the best D coordinator, because D coordinators hate tempo. Because they can't, you just got to sit there and can't sub. I couldn't sub, and then I got to worry about this freakazoid quarterback running on me or throwing it to take your pick of fast receivers that can house it. If the backs are improved, that kind of thing. You can't. What are you going to do if you spy Lenore Sellers? He's just going to, with the way Briles' offense works, it's just going to be out pattern after out, in pattern out. He's just going to keep just throw it past you, right? And hit the open space. If you just blitz the crap. Now, if you're blitzing the crap out of them and getting them home consistently, like if your line is really getting destroyed, there are ways to combat that with draw plays and things like that. But if they're in the backfield all day, it's not going to be a good day. But I just, in theory, with what he does and the players you've got, and then the problems it causes a D coordinator, and then you throw in the fact when Lenore Sellers is playing in a rhythm or aligned with the operational tempo of the game, Phil. He's so much better than when he's not. I mean, I don't know. I'm optimistic about. I'll just say I'm optimistic about the plan. Players have to play, coaches have to coach. Game day is different, but and I guess my thing would be I'm surprised there hadn't at least been more discussion. I mean, tell me why it wouldn't work out.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, that's the thing that I find baffling is I was like, why is this not going to be better than it was last year, right? And I think that even any lay person could see that it's a better system that is going to benefit him maybe more so than anybody on this team outside of the O-line, with the way they're going to be able to communicate and function and not have to think, so much before pre-snap. But yeah, I just, it is what it is. Obviously, we kind of like the underdog role around here. It's something that Shane Beamer plays up whenever he gets an opportunity to do so. All three players mention that in their media availabilities this week in Tampa. So yeah, it's got them right where you want them, at least from a mentality standpoint.
Yeah,
there aren't 5 teams in the SEC that would keep their quarterback over Lenore Sellers. Like if they had the option, they're all gonna pick Lenore Sellers. Not all of them. I mean, obviously you have some established guys, but he's top 4 in the SEC bare minimum.
Sweet.
Behind Byron Brown. That's a joke. I don't think that.
Look, Byron Brown, though, I just got to get stats, right? It's kind of like Mateer coming in last year.
Right.
Stats. He had 3,100 passing yards and 1,000 rushing. And that's a system. Again, the system. That's Josh Heupel's system. It's worked. I mean, we'd all be quaking in our boots about Big Orange.
Big Orange.
If Byron Brown had gone to Tennessee, wouldn't we?
Yeah, they didn't shell out that kind of money. They're buying, they're
buying
freshmen. They're not buying.
They're going to have to play a freshman at quarterback. I tell you, if this running back is legit and Faison Brandon ends up being legit, Tennessee could. I mean, they could. I'm going to give them credit. I think they could. You got with that system and those players, and then
it's the defensive coordinator making those changes coming from Penn State. Like that secondary has to get fixed.
Yeah, but, it takes Knowles.
That Knowles defense.
The word is, though, it takes Knowles a little while. Tennessee, though, had as many, like one less non-offensive touchdown last year than Carolina. Like I think they led the league in pick sixes, and everybody talked about that secondary. I mean, they got torched.
Flip side of the coin, maybe the offense wasn't as good as Heupel has been accustomed to.
I'll say this, though. We've talked a lot about points. If Carolina does run a lot of tempo and it's fast on offense, don't think that Clayton White suddenly forgot how to coordinate a defense because the Gamecocks are giving up more touchdowns. That happened in Alabama, too, when they went tempo.
Yeah.
They started, it's just there's more possessions, more opportunities. It's kind of a math thing. Matt will probably write something about that.
Probably.
Especially over the next 2 weeks while we have nothing. We're just digging for things to write.
That's right. The dead zone.
All righty. Sweet. All right, guys. For the Late Night Gamecock, Matt Anderson. For Mad Dog. For Jamie Bradford. This is JC Sherbert. This has been the show. And we'll be back Monday. Y'all, I'll let you boys see you.
See ya.